Chapter 1844. Brother, let me listen too. I won't tell on you, Princess Rookin said coquettishly as she blinked her eyes. Su Yu smiled lightly. You can listen if you want. Maybe she and I will talk about flirting with Feng Yuan and Mount Wu. Do you still want to listen? Ah! Princess Rookin screamed, embarrassed and angry. She stamped her feet. You're so naughty. You're still laughing at me. That day at the Benevolence Palace, Princess Rookin muttered the meaning of the 8 characters with a confused look. When she returned, she was immediately lectured by Emperor Wuhan, who told her what they meant. Only then did she realize that she had made a fool of herself at the Benevolence Palace, and she had no idea what they meant. Now, hearing Su Yu's teasing, she blushed again. She was so angry that she punched him and ran away. A moment later, North Gazing Pearl and North Gazing Pavilion came to visit. Greetings, 6th Prince. North Gazing Pearl and North Gazing Pavilion bowed in unison. So you looked straight ahead. Is there anything you need from me? North Gazing Pavilion bowed. Father and grandfather were ordered by the Emperor to return to the fief in a hurry. The 2 of us, brother and sister, would like to express our gratitude to 6th Prince on behalf of the Beixin family. As he spoke, he took out some gifts. These are some specialties of the Beixin land. I hope 6th Prince will like them, North Gazing said slowly as he put down the gifts in his hands. Su Yu nodded. Thank you. Put them down. North Gazing rolled his eyes. I still have matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first. North Gazing Pearl stood up as well, but North Gazing signaled for her to stay. North Gazing Pearl pointed at her own nose. You want me to stay? Nodding his head, North Gazing Pavilion left the room, closing the door behind him with a meaningful smile on his face. Only the 2 of them were left in the room. North Gazing Pearl felt uneasy. She looked down at the tips of her shoes, not knowing what to say. Do you really want to marry me? Su Yu looked at her and asked. North Gazing Pearl subconsciously puffed out her chest and shook her head. Of course not. I have the same intention. Su Yu nodded. If that's the case, you can disappear for now. That way, I don't have to marry you, and you don't have to marry me. North Gazing Pearl frowned. Was he so unwilling to marry her? How was she lacking? Even if he had abnormal feelings for Bei Wangqin in the past, it had never crossed any ethical line. What right do you have to look down on me? That's easy for you to say. After I go missing, what will happen to the Beixin bloodline? Dongfang Xia is temperamental. Who knows what he will do? North Gazing Pearl said angrily. Su Yu was indifferent. Her reaction was within reason. After remaining silent for a long while, Su Yu said, North Gazing Pearl, no matter how you felt in the past, you chose to marry me against your own will. But I can't give you a future, and you made a choice that you shouldn't have. He looked straight into the eyes of the North Gazing Pearl and said deeply, In the near future, I will either die accidentally, disappear from the world, or the title of the 6th Prince will be removed. In short, it won't end well. You should be mentally prepared. He had a feeling that Dongfang Xia would deal with him. The North Gazing Pearl's choice to marry him was perhaps the biggest mistake of her life. What do you mean? The other party's tone was sincere. The North Gazing Pearl's anger subsided, and she asked in confusion, You will understand when the time comes. Su Yu sighed softly as he couldn't tell her the truth. The North Gazing Pearl had a feeling of being kept in the dark, which was very uncomfortable. After thinking it over, she somewhat understood Su Yu's intention. She said coldly, Humph, you just want to go missing and run away from the wedding to find your 3 female companions, don't you? Su Yu furrowed his brows. 3 female companions? When he came to the Diyu Empire, the only female friend of the same age as him was Princess Rookin. Who are you talking about? Su Yu asked. The North Gazing Pearl snorted. Think about it yourself. After saying that, she flicked her sleeves and left. Suyu was left puzzled. 3 female companions. Is it Xia Jingyu and Xinga? But who is the third one? It doesn't seem like he is talking about the 2 of them. The wedding was approaching day by day. In addition to training, Suyu also started to investigate some puzzling things in the past. In the evening, Bei Wangqin came to visit. Now he had been appointed as the commander of the Imperial City Guards by imperial decree. He was in charge of the safety of the imperial family and enjoyed a high status, which was even higher than the 10 great conferred kings. It could be said that the bloodline of Beixin had profited from a disaster. Your Highness, I have found the information you wanted. Bei Wangqin still found it difficult to face Suyu. It was difficult for him to associate Suyu, who seemed to be a peak overlord, with the strong man who had crushed him to the point that he couldn't even fight back. Suyu took a stack of information from him and nodded. Thank you. Don't mention it. Compared to the fact that you saved the entire bloodline of Beixin, this is just a small favor. Your Highness, I will take my leave now. Bei Wangqin came and went like the wind. He was in a much better mood when he left. He had more or less returned the favor he owed. Suyu opened the information and read it in detail. He raised his eyebrows slightly. He had asked Bei Wangqin to help him get the information from the rewards pavilion because he wanted to know why he had a bounty placed on his head twice. The second bounty was for Dongfang Shunlei. She mistakenly thought that Suyu had killed Xialing, so she was looking for Suyu to take revenge. However, the first bounty was suddenly cut off midway. The person who had placed the bounty had taken the initiative to withdraw it. As Suyu stared at the information on it, a strange look appeared in his eyes. As expected, the Dongfang Divine Tears were not the ones on the 2 bounties. When the first reward was announced, Suyu was still in the Tao Tai cage, unable to escape. Therefore, the first person who offered a bounty for him was definitely not Dongfang Shenlei. He had not even appeared in the absolute beginning realm at that time. There was no enmity between them. It was definitely not her. In the past, he took it for granted that it was her both times. Now that he was free, he thought about it carefully and realized that there was more to it than met the eye. Now that he checked, there was indeed a problem. Who is looking for me? Suyu was secretly surprised. At that time, he was still in the Tao Tai cage, so who in the great beginning realm would know him? Unfortunately, a long time ago, the person who posted the bounty had already taken the initiative to withdraw the person who posted the bounty. A trace of doubt lingered in his chest. Time ticked by. The news of the engagement between the 6th prince and the North-Pronged Pearl spread like wildfire. The government offices of the major fiefdoms, cities, and towns began to hang festive decorations. The imperial city was even more so. After being informed by the imperial guards, all shops along the way were to hang colorful ribbons, firecrackers, and red lanterns. The entire imperial city was bustling with activity. As far as the eye could see, it was a sea of joyous red. Shopkeeperly, North Wangting came to the tailor's shop where the groom's clothes were custom-made. Is the bride's phoenix robe ready? Haha, it's ready a long time ago. How could I dare to delay the young princess's wedding? Shopkeeper Li took out a space storage device and handed it to North Wangting. North Wangting examined it carefully and confirmed that there were no problems. These are the remaining divine stones. Please count them. He placed the bag containing the divine stones on the counter. Mr. North Wangting, you must be joking. Your presence brings light to my humble shop. How could I not trust you? Shopkeeper Li did not even look at it before putting the small bag away. North Wangting nodded and walked back to his temporary lodging. Shopkeeper Li smiled and watched him disappear from his sight. His smile slowly faded and was replaced by a sly smile. 2 days later, the day of the wedding finally arrived. In the 6th prince's mansion, Princess Rukin and Emperor Wuhin helped Suyu put on the groom's clothes. He was already handsome, but now he looked even more spirited. The most handsome groom of the Dayu Empire has been born. Princess Rukin's eyes were twinkling like stars. I want to marry you. What should I do? Su Yu was not in a good mood. He calmly said, "All right, I'll report to the Emperor immediately and replace you. Will that do?" "Ha ha! I don't have your guts to challenge my father," Princess Rukin said with an embarrassed smile. Princess Rukin smiled in embarrassment. However, when she looked at the groom before her, she did feel somewhat upset in her heart. She had grown up alone in the royal family. Her brothers had not been able to give her any warmth. But Su Yu, the fake prince, had. If it were possible, she would be very willing to be with him for real, whether as brother and sister or husband and wife. Now that he was going to marry North Wangzhou, she felt an inexplicable discomfort in her heart. It was as if her favorite thing had been snatched away. She, who had been in high spirits, felt a little downcast. As if he could read her mind, Emperor Wuhan sighed quietly. "All right, it's time to go to the Supreme Ling Hall. The young princess of North Wangzhou will be here soon." Su Yu looked at the mirror and sighed inwardly. He had been looking for a chance to escape, but Dongfang Xia had been watching him too closely. Now he had been forced into a corner. With some difficulty, Su Yu arrived at the Supreme Ling Hall, accompanied by Princess Rukin, Emperor Wuhan, and a large number of palace maids. Dongfang Xia was in high spirits. His face was glowing as he sat in the chief seat. Outside the hall was North Wangzhou, who had just been delivered by Bei Xian's family. She was dressed in a splendid phoenix robe. It was luxurious and well-tailored, and it accentuated North Wangzhou's slender figure. A large red veil covered her delicate and beautiful face. She was only waiting for Su Yu to remove the veil when it was time to consummate their marriage. The auspicious hour has arrived. Let the ceremony begin. The bride and groom pay their respects to His Majesty. The two of them entered together. One was handsome, and the other was exquisite. They looked like a perfect match made in heaven. The first prince, the second prince, the third prince, the fourth prince, the fifth prince, and Princess Rukin all had different looks in their eyes. The first prince was the most embarrassed. He was obviously gnashing his teeth with hatred, but he had to pretend to be happy. He watched as the two of them walked past him and came before Dongfang Xia. North Wangzhou offered him a cup of tea. Dongfang Xia accepted it with a smile. He pursed his lips and said, "Wangzhou, from today on, you are a member of the royal family. Here, this is the money for your tea." He took out a small bag. Under the cover of the red veil, North Wangzhou blushed. "Thank you, father." She took it, lowered her head, and glanced at it. Her expression changed. There were a total of 100 dark-colored god stones lying quietly on the ground. Top-grade divine stones. According to the exchange rate, it was 1,000,000 divine stones. The money for this tea was incomparably generous. Dongfang Xia was about to say something, but his gaze suddenly froze. He stared at the phoenix robe on North Wangzhou, and his eyes narrowed. "Your phoenix robe is interesting." Chapter 1845. The north-gazing pearl was startled. She had a bad feeling about this. At that moment, the phoenix robe she was wearing suddenly burst into flames. The dragon and phoenix patterns embroidered on it emitted thick, dark yellow smoke amidst the flames. The north-gazing pearl bore the brunt of the smoke and immediately inhaled it. A sense of nausea and pain began to spread from her throat to her body, quickly extinguishing her life force. Poison! Dongfang Xia was right in front of her, but he did not help her. Instead, he rolled up his sleeves and drew back the yellow smoke. The poisoned north-gazing pearl immediately inhaled a large amount of smoke again. Her vision became blurry, and her remaining rationality told her that she was about to die. She was poisoned to death inexplicably. Bei Wangqin and North Gazing Ting, who were standing outside the tailing hall, discovered her situation and hurried over to rescue her. However, it was too late. Recalling Dongfang Xia's ruthless move, her heart turned cold. The royal family was ruthless, but Dongfang Xia was even more ruthless. Sighing, she closed her eyes in despair. However, The moment she closed her eyes, her soft waist was hugged by a strong arm. At the same time, the phoenix robe on her body was flung away. Immediately after, her body turned around, and she was hugged by a thick and firm chest. The chest was emitting waves of terrifying heat. Wisps of flames entered her skin, through her pores, and burned inside her body. Ah! The north-gazing Pearl groaned in pain and opened her eyes in a daze. Su Yu's handsome face had never appeared in front of her so closely before. He stared at the surroundings and said in a low voice, "Don't resist. I will burn the poison in your body with the real dragon, divine fire. The process will be a little painful." Su Yu's whole body was wrapped in a mass of dark red flames. The yellow smoke that came close to him was immediately burned into nothingness. Su Yu could not be poisoned at all. At that moment, the north-gazing Pearl's heart thumped wildly. She had never felt such a throbbing in her heart. It was as if she had suddenly opened a door, or as if her perception of Su Yu had suddenly changed. He seemed to have become different. She looked at him in a trance without blinking. Su Yu's eyes were sharp as he glanced around. The tailing hall was filled with yellow smoke. Ordinary people could not see through it at all. His eyes flashed as he activated his transparent eyes, only to find a chill in his heart. From the first prince to Princess Rukin, the moment the yellow poisonous fog appeared, they were protected by Dongfang Xia's unique divine art, unable to harm them at all. Only he and the north-gazing Pearl were forgotten by Dongfang Xia. Had he really forgotten? Or was this also a self-directed performance by Dongfang Xia to take the opportunity to get rid of Su Yu? Dongfang Xia was nowhere to be seen. At the end of the world, a powerful fluctuation came from the boundless sea. He was very powerful, so powerful that even a two-crown emperor couldn't get close. This was a battle between 3 crown emperors. Su Yu rolled up his sleeves, and the real dragon divine fire on the surface of his body ignited the whole Tailing Hall, burning away all the poisonous fog. He looked at the pale-faced Princess Rukin and nodded slightly. "It's good that you are fine." He then looked at the north-gazing Pearl in his bosom. Wisps of gray air flowed out from his pores, gradually fading until there was nothing left. He made a grabbing motion and retrieved the true dragon divine flame. "Are you all right?" Bei Wang Zhu's snow-white cheeks blushed. She lowered her head and hummed softly, looking as obedient and shy as a bride. After ascertaining that he was fine, Su Yu put him down. "Be careful, I'll go take a look." Su Yu was about to rush out. A heaven-sent opportunity. To think that a 3-crown emperor would cause trouble and entangle Dongfang Xia. If he didn't escape now, when would he? But just as he was about to escape, a cold black light suddenly attacked. The black light was silent and without any fluctuations, nor did it give off a sense of threat. In addition, it was extremely fast. Ordinary people might be caught off guard and be hit, but the threat of fate on Su Yu's chest suddenly shook, and a sense of danger arose. Without hesitation, he shot out countless space blades from his body, forming a wall in front of him. Creak! The black light swept past and was swallowed up by the space blades. However, a large area of the spatial blades turned pitch black. The familiar scene made Su Yu's heart skip a beat. When the second prince's troops tried to kill Empress Ziwei, one of them was shrouded in a black robe, and his every movement emitted a mysterious black shadow. Any living creature would be petrified at the slightest touch. Its power was exactly the same as the one before him. He, as expected of the 6th prince who has successfully condensed the law of space. Your reaction is extraordinarily fast. In the sky above the Supreme Ling Palace, a figure in a black robe laughed strangely. Su Yu's pupils shrank slightly. A 2-crown emperor. This person was a 2-crown emperor. At the same time, the fluctuations of the duel between 2-crown emperors came from other places in the palace. It was the empire's 3 2-crown emperors fighting the invaders. Su Yu's heart suddenly sank, and he was extremely shocked. A 3-crown emperor for 2 crown emperors, and perhaps many single crown emperors. What kind of force was this? How could it be so terrifying? They could be seen in the ruins of the Great Yu. That Saint Maiden Union must have sought refuge with them, right? Could it be that, as she said, he had unknowingly provoked an unimaginably powerful force? Hee, how could a small 2-crown emperor like me dare to be arrogant in front of the 6th prince? You have the record of fighting a 2-crown emperor alone. He had investigated Su Yu very clearly. Bei Wangqin, who was rushing over, had a fierce look in his eyes. How dare you attack my sister? Don't even think of leaving today. 9 palms returned to 1. The 9 swift and fierce palm prints merged into one and suddenly attacked. The black-robed man laughed disdainfully. I didn't even take you seriously when you were at your peak, let alone now. You don't even have a 2-crown emperor, and you still want to pose me? He waved a black light casually, and the 9 palm prints were easily destroyed. The black light penetrated the palm prints and struck Bei Wangqin's chest. His body was petrified in an instant, and he could not move. Immediately after, the black-robed man attacked him casually and killed him. However, a red light flashed around Bei Wangqin, and he was teleported away, appearing beside Su Yu. He patted Bei Wangqin's body forcefully, and the black light on the surface of his body dispersed. He said indifferently, "Protect Zhu the princess, and the prince as they retreat. Leave this to me." Bei Wangqin smiled bitterly. A great enemy was in front of him, and he could only cover the escape of others. Nodding his head heavily, he said, "Be careful." As he spoke, he removed the simple divine technique cast on the princess and the prince, allowing them to move freely. "Follow me." Bei Wangqin smashed the wall of the Supreme Ling Palace with a palm and escaped from the other side. Princess Rukin and the north-gazing Pearl stopped in their tracks, hesitating and unwilling to retreat. Bei Wangqin looked at Princess Rukin strangely. His younger sister could barely be considered half a princess of the 6th prince. It was understandable that she did not want to leave, but why was Princess Rukin joining in the fun? "Go quickly. If you stay here, he will not be able to focus on fighting the enemy." He dragged the 2 ladies forcefully, and they finally escaped through the collapsed gap. The black-robed man did not chase after them. He stared straight at Su Yu and sneered. "I am here today for you. You ruined our plans, and you even killed our beloved disciple." "Beloved disciple? Who?" "Oh," Su Yu said indifferently, and he clenched his fists lightly. It was a good opportunity to test the power of the first style of the Evil Dragon Bible, the Nirvana of the Evil Dragon. If he could hold on, he would test the Tianyi Bao. If he could still hold on, he would try the Royal Dragon Sword. There had to be a style that suited him, right? However, a genius like you is extremely rare in our civilization. If you're willing to surrender, it's not that I can't let you live. The black-robed man's tone softened, as if he was ready to let him go. However, just as he finished speaking, his tone suddenly became fierce. "That is a dream." A large mass of black light suddenly shot out from behind him, condensing into a giant palm the size of the Tai Ling Palace, and slammed down with a loud bang. Clang! The Tai Ling Palace was shattered on the spot, leaving behind a pile of rubble. Su Yu's aura quickly faded, and soon there was nothing left. The black-robed man looked a little disappointed. "It seems like the information was wrong. What did you mean by fighting a double-crowned divine warrior? And I could not even withstand 1 palm strike." He turned to look at the other battlefields where the double-crowned divine warriors were fighting and laughed sinisterly. "Dongfang Xia thinks he is clever, so why don't we fulfill his wish? Today, we will wipe out the royal family of the Diyu Empire." Before leaving, he waved his large palm and swept away the rubble. "Humph! Humph! I will bring your corpse back for the master to see." Unexpectedly, as soon as the rubble was swept away, A deafening roar shook his palm until it was numb. 1,000-foot-long fire dragon suddenly flew out from the rubble. A terrifying mighty force knocked his palm back, and even his body was shaken back. The black-robed man was startled and then surprised. "You are the sixth prince." He stared in disbelief at the existence in front of him that was no different from a real dragon. Without a word, Su Yu swiped with his dragon claw. The black-robed man immediately dodged, not daring to take it head-on. But he was still a step too late. His black robe was torn apart by the strong wind from the dragon claw. It revealed an old man who was as shriveled as a skeleton, his eyes flickering with black flames. In between his brows, there was a strange character. Su Yu recognized it. It was the language of the Dark Moon clan of the Dark Star civilization. The Dark Moon clan belonged to the middle third class of the 10,000 clans, and their individual combat abilities were abnormally strong. Compared to a naturally weak race like the human clan, there were very few who could defeat the Dark Moon clan at the same level. Someone from the Dark Star civilization. Su Yu's eyes narrowed slightly. He had long felt that it was strange for the Dark Star civilization to send emissaries to the Dayu Empire. At this moment, the Dark Star civilization was at a crucial juncture in the fight for the Emperor Killing Sword. All the forces were fighting fiercely, but this batch of emissaries had chosen to stay in the Empire and not leave for a long time. To think that as the rulers and protectors of a 3-star civilization, they would attack the civilization under them. It's too late for you to know now. The skeletal old man's eyes flashed with flames. Su Yu's dragon body immediately burned with pitch-black flames, petrifying his body. Unfortunately, Su Yu had obtained the real dragon divine fire. With a gentle shake, the black flames on the surface of his body were swallowed by the real dragon divine fire. The skeletal old man was shocked. He had thought that only Su Yu's space blade was feared and his innate talent, black light, could counter the space blade. Unexpectedly, other than that, Su Yu still had the strange ability to transform into a dragon. Chapter 1846. Anyone who was struck by the saber, even if it touched the skin a little, would be invaded by the vengeful spirit. Even if they didn't die, they would be crippled. Dark Moon Soul Blade. The skeletal old man's long blade slashed down, bringing with it a series of cries of resentful spirits, disturbing one's mind. Su Yu's gaze sharpened as he swept his dragon tail. Clang, however, when the bone saber struck the dragon's tail, a series of sparks burst out, but the saber did not manage to cut through the dragon's tail. How is this possible? The skeletal old man stared at the bone blade in front of him in disbelief. Even the Double Crown Emperor would be injured if he took one of his blades. The true dragon that the sixth prince had transformed into was actually so tough. What he didn't know was that the dragon race had always been known for their strong bodies. The evil dragon Saint Monarch lasted 5 to 6 days under the true dragon divine flame before his body was burned to ashes. The skeletal old man was shocked, and he immediately felt that the situation was troublesome. This child was much more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. Finally, he gritted his teeth and took out a fist-sized bead. It was filled with countless vengeful spirits. He opened his mouth and bit down, crushing the bead. Then he sucked in all the resentful souls. The black light in his eyes instantly grew 10 times stronger. "Brat, take another strike from me." This strike was more than 5 or 6 times stronger than the previous one. With the evil dragon's small success in Nirvana, it would most likely be cut in half. Real dragon divine fire! Su Yu opened his mouth abruptly and spat out a dark red flame. Ah! The bone blade immediately let out mournful howls of pain, and countless resentful souls were burned to ashes. The skeletal old man was shocked. "What kind of fire is this?" "Extinguish your fire." How powerful was the true dragon divine fire? Even though it couldn't compare to a true divine flame, it still wasn't something a dual crown emperor could endure. As the flames burned his body, the skeletal old man immediately roared in pain and hurriedly put out the fire. However, the flames were extremely difficult to extinguish, and even the power of the great desolation could do nothing about it. Seeing the raging flames enter his body, how could the skeletal old man still have the courage to continue fighting? Terrified, he fled toward his companions and shouted, "Tiger Moon Peak Master, save me!" Su Yu's eyes flickered coldly. Trying to escape? With a wave of his tail, he quickly caught up. The huge dragon claw slammed into the skeletal old man's body, causing him to fall to the ground. The skeletal old man crawled up and ran, but he was ruthlessly pressed to the ground by a dragon claw. A powerful true dragon divine flame rose from the dragon claw, roasting the skeletal old man until he screamed miserably. "Is that all you've got?" Su Yu tried using the evil dragons, Nirvana, and the real dragon divine flame. Ever since he came to the great beginning realm, his body had always been ordinary. He did not expect that after cultivating the evil dragon Bible, just the toughness of his body alone would allow him to contend against a double crown emperor. Combined with the true dragon divine fire, ordinary double crown emperors would be directly crushed. "Sixth Prince, please be merciful. I don't want to die," the skeletal old man begged. Su Yu's gaze was cold and indifferent. After going through such a long experience, he was naturally not a merciful person. "I'm sorry, I don't want to die." Would letting him go get his gratitude? If Su Yu really believed that, then he would have lived his life in vain. The dragon claw pressed down, and an even more intense flame surged over, completely turning the skeletal old man into a flaming man. With a deafening roar, his body was completely destroyed. A fist-sized soul turned into a stream of light and fled. Su Yu smiled indifferently, a crack appearing between his brows. "Soul-devouring realm." "Ah, don't let me go." The voice stopped abruptly. Su Yu captured his soul and sealed it between his brows. He would find a safe place to digest it. He casually grabbed the space storage device that the old man had dropped and turned to leave. But two sharp auras, one in front and one behind, were heading in his direction. Su Yu's heart skipped a beat. He withdrew the evil dragon's Nirvana and stood quietly in front of a pile of ashes. It was getting closer. It was a tiger-headed man in a black robe, chasing the gray-robed emperor playfully. The latter's body had been destroyed by true Lord Fire Dragon not long ago, and he had barely reassembled it not long ago. His cultivation had not yet recovered to its peak. Moreover, he was from the middle-class Dark Moon clan. How could he defeat him? A pitch-black wound the size of a bowl could be seen on his chest. It could not heal, and the wound was still spreading in all directions. Even without the tiger-headed emperor's pursuit, he would not be able to live for long. The gray-robed emperor looked down and saw Su Yu standing there with his hands clasped behind his back. He could not help but shout, "Sixth Prince, why haven't you escaped?" He had seen Bei Wangqin leading the princess and the princes to the west of the palace. How could he leave Su Yu behind? Without Bei Wangqin's protection, any single-crowned emperor could take his life. Sixth Prince, the Skeleton Peak Master did not do his job well. He actually allowed you to escape here. Humph! The Tiger Moon Peak Master snorted, casually shooting a black light toward Su Yu. But Su Yu did not move an inch. He had no intention of dodging. The gray-robed emperor clenched his teeth and flew over. He grabbed Su Yu under his armpit and escaped. He said bitterly, "You can only follow me, but I cannot hold on for long. I am afraid I cannot protect you." Perhaps Dongfang Xia had many things that Su Yu despised, but he was right about one thing. The prosperity of the Diyu Empire did not depend on the 9 cauldrons. It depended on him, the princes, and the loyal officials. The gray-robed emperor was undoubtedly such a loyal official. Even in death, he was still loyal to the royal family. When he was pretending to be the 6th prince, the gray-robed emperor had protected him many times. Sighing, he said, "This time, it is my turn to protect you." A layer of red dragon scales appeared on his arms. His body was surrounded by the law of giant strength. He pulled his arms back, barely pulling 3 inches away. His current body was strong, comparable to a double-crowned emperor, but he could only pull 3 inches away. But it was enough. In the past, he could kill a single crowned emperor with 1 inch. Now, 3 inches, the arrow was knocked on the bow, aimed at the Tiger Moon Peak Master, who was hot on his heels. He was laughing coldly when he suddenly realized something. His hair stood on end. He immediately stopped in his tracks and stared at the exaggerated giant bow in horror. A strong sense of life and death enveloped his heart. His years of battle instinct made him react decisively. Without a second word, he turned and fled immediately. But Su Yu had already loosened the bowstring. With a strong whooshing sound, the arrow flew out. In the past, it would leave a black shadow in the air. But this time, it did not even leave a shadow. The Tiger Moon Peak Master's head was immediately penetrated by the arrow and exploded like a watermelon. At the same time, a small soul screamed and fled. Another crack appeared between Su Yu's brows. As it opened and closed, the soul was devoured. Witnessing this scene, the gray-robed emperor's scalp went numb. He was horrified. The Tiger Moon Peak Master, who had beaten him half to death, was killed with a single blow. Su Yu sucked the air and took away the Tiger Moon Peak Master's space storage device. "Let's go to the next place," he said calmly, as if he was giving an order. The gray-robed emperor nodded, subconsciously. "Oh, okay." The fluctuations of the double-crowned emperor's battle were extremely strong and easy to find. The emperor of the empire, who was struggling to hold on at the second place, was pleasantly surprised. "Gray robe, which one did you kill? Quick, come and lend me a hand." The gray-robed emperor's mouth twitched. He wanted to kill them, but did he have the ability to do so? Su Yu stood beside him. Without batting an eyelid, he pulled open the tiny bow and shot an arrow. As expected, the double-crowned emperor from the Dark Moon clan was also killed with a single arrow. His soul wanted to escape, but it was caught by the gray-robed emperor and handed to Su Yu respectfully. Su Yu stuffed it between his brows and nodded. Next place. The emperor, who had escaped death, stared at Su Yu's back in fear. He whispered, "Gray robe, what's going on?" The 6th prince, the gray-robed emperor, smiled bitterly. "Don't ask too much. Just follow him. Let's see what it means to kill a double-crowned emperor, like killing a dog." Killing a dog. The emperor was not convinced. But he could not help but shudder as he recalled the scene of the emperor, who had suppressed him to the point of suffocation, dying with a single arrow. The 2 of them stood on the left and right as if they were servants. Those who did not know better would have thought that they were accompanying the emperor of the Diyu Empire. The 3rd place was also finished with a single arrow. The 3rd emperor was also dumbfounded. His situation was even more dangerous, and his body was almost destroyed. In the end, he was killed by Su Yu's arrow before he could even react. Su Yu was very satisfied with the souls of the 4 double-crowned emperors from the Dark Moon clan. In this way, after devouring their souls, his own soul would skyrocket and reach an extremely high level. The final cultivation technique of the 6th stage of the Heaven's Sun, gazing at air, would definitely appear. In addition, there were also the treasures of the 4 double-crowned emperors, which would surely be very shocking. Suddenly, a terrifying wave came from the end of the sky. Looking from afar, Dongfang Xia was fighting a black-robed man in the sky, his hair flying in anger. It could be seen that Dongfang Xia was at a disadvantage, while the black-robed man was very relaxed. "Haha, if you had trained for another 1,000 years, I might still be a little afraid of you. A newly advanced triple-crowned emperor is nothing in front of me." The black-robed man struck with his sharp claws. His 5 fingers were entwined with the chain of law, which shattered Dongfang Xia's shoulder. He roared in pain. His face was covered in blood, and his facial features looked extremely hideous. The moon-worshipping cult has really put in a lot of effort in order to seize the Diyu Empire. You secretly funded my banished sister and failed to seize the empire. Now you, the moon-worshipping cult, have come in person." Hearing this, Su Yu suddenly understood. In the past, when Xianyue Langjun broke into the palace and kidnapped the 3 empresses, Dongfang Xia and the 3 guardian emperors were all entangled by mysterious, strong men. Their strength was extremely high, and they should be the double-crowned emperors. It was very likely that they were the 4 emperors that Su Yu had killed today. Dongfang Xia's plan was to catch all of them in one fell swoop. Dongfang Divine Lei was probably just a cover. What he really wanted to get rid of were the mysterious strong men who secretly supported Dongfang Divine Lei. However, they did not show up. Therefore, Dongfang Xia created another plan. He used the wedding of Su Yu and the North Gazing Pearl to deliberately lower the vigilance of the palace. This was why he insisted on marrying Su Yu and the North Gazing Pearl, and why he wanted to get married within 10 days. He wanted to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Not only could he lure out the mastermind behind Dongfang Divine Lei, but he could also use them to get rid of Su Yu openly. After that, he would publish an obituary saying that the 6th prince had been sacrificed heroically. However, Dongfang Xia never dreamed that the one supporting Dongfang Divine Lei was not an ordinary force, but the moon-worshipping cult from the Dark Star civilization. What was even more unexpected was that the moon-worshipping cult had come in person. His strength was far above Dongfang Xia's. Chapter 1847. Recently, Su Yu had familiarized himself with the collections of various extraterrestrial civilizations and had gained a certain understanding of the Dark Star civilization. The main race of the Dark Star civilization was the Dark Moon race. They belonged to the middle 3rd tier among the thousands of races in space. Their cultivation talent was great, especially when they were born with the Dark Moon divine light. The living beings and objects that were hit would usually become petrified, stiff, and other symptoms, and then they would be easily killed. Within the range of the Dark Star civilization's radiation, there were many civilizations under their jurisdiction. Among them, the 3-star civilizations were basically created by the Dark Moon race. There were very few other races. In history, there was once an incident where a 3-star civilization outside of their race was destroyed overnight. To be exact, he disappeared overnight and never appeared again. It was as if it had never existed. Although he did not know what exactly happened, there was a vague shadow of the Dark Moon race in the records. The moon-worshipping cult was one of the 10 great organizations of the Dark Star civilization. Although it was ranked at the bottom, it was extremely powerful. The sect master was a Triple Crown Emperor. There were 10 Double Crown Emperor Elders, and there were more than 100 Single Crown Emperors. They occupied a region and recruited believers. Their influence was extremely extensive. For many years, they had been targeting the Diyu Empire for some unknown reason. Looking at Dongfang Xia's wounded face and the fact that he was at a disadvantage, the 3 country guarding emperors were extremely worried and anxious. However, it was useless for them to participate in the battle between the 3 crown emperors. Instead, they would affect Dongfang Xia. After Su Yu finished reading, he turned around expressionlessly and walked toward the 6th prince's mansion. "6th prince, where are you going?" The gray-robed sovereign exclaimed in surprise. He looked at the mysterious Tianyi Bao in his hand and said, "6th prince, please help his majesty." Save him? Was that even possible? Dongfang Xia had been scheming against Su Yu in every way. He could not wait for Su Yu to die in the Dark Star civilization's conspiracy. Would he save Dongfang Xia? Now that Dongfang Xia was suppressed and could not raise his head, it was the right way to escape. There is nothing I can do in a fight between the 3 crown divine warriors. Su Yu did not even turn his head. I will go and see how my sister and the others are doing. Without waiting for the 3 of them to ask him to stay, he immediately fled. At the same time, Dongfang Xia's Bai West sect leader landed on the ground. A 10 million zhang deep pit was dug out of the ground, and a large amount of underground energy veins were flowing in it. Haha, how sad. Even your son has abandoned you. Dongfangxia, raise your hands and surrender. You are no match for me. The worshipping moon sect leader looked relaxed. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back and stared at Dongfangxia, who was getting more and more injured. Dongfangxia snorted coldly, turned around, and fled into the earth vein. What's the point of doing useless things? You can't escape. The corners of Baiyu's mouth curled up into a playful smile as he chased after him in a flash. Su Yu returned to the 6th prince's mansion and packed up his things. Right now, the imperial palace was in chaos. The eunuchs and palace maids were fleeing everywhere to avoid the Dark Moon race's pursuit. The gates of the imperial palace had long since fallen. This was the best time to escape from the imperial palace and leave through the borders of the imperial city. Just as he was about to rush out, a series of light shouts came from the princess's residence next door. It was Bei Wangqin. Creasing his brows, Su Yu had no choice but to fly to the sky above the princess mansion and look down. 4 moon-worshipping disciples with single crown emperors were besieging Bei Wangqin, the first prince, and the others. Bei Wangqin and the first prince were barely able to resist the joint attack of the 4 of them. But it was barely enough. The first prince's leg had been hit by a black light, and parts of it were petrified. Bei Wangqin was barely able to protect himself. Once he died, Princess Rukin and the other princes would be at the mercy of others. How troublesome! But because of his relationship with Princess Rukin, he naturally would not stand idly by. He pulled open the Tianyi bow and shot an arrow casually. One of the moon-worshipping disciples with single crown emperors died tragically on the spot. Then he shot another arrow. When the second disciple died, the remaining 2 disciples fled in terror. But they could not escape Su Yu's arrow and were shot to death. After resolving the crisis, Su Yu stood on the city wall and frowned. Why are you still in the imperial palace? Bei Wangqin shattered the black light with a palm strike. He said in a low voice, the imperial palace is filled with the strong martial artists of the Dark Moon race. We had nowhere to escape to. We were forced here by a few emperors. Su Yu frowned slightly. The imperial palace is dangerous. The fiefdom should be much safer. Why didn't you use the transportation portal used by the imperial family? Could it be that the place was destroyed too? No. Bei Wangqin's face was gloomy. But when I sent a message to my father, I learned that he received an order from Dongfangxia to seal the entrance and exit of the imperial city. It has been 8 days since then. The fiefdom has no extra power to protect us. If they stayed in the imperial palace, they could still make use of the various seals in the imperial palace. But if they returned to the fiefdom, their deaths would be hastened. Sealed again? Or was it 7 or 8 days ago? In other words, it was after the imperial edict of marriage was issued. Dongfangxia was indeed scheming again. He wanted to use the same trick to capture all the moon-worshipping disciples lurking in the Dayu civilization. His unintentional action had put Su Yu in trouble again. How could he leave the empire if the borders were sealed? Su Yu nodded and glanced at Princess Rukin. Be careful. As he spoke, he turned to leave. Where are you going? Bei Wangju asked. She was still wearing a bright red wedding gown. Su Yu was expressionless, leaving the Dayu Empire. There was no need to hide anything now. He looked at Bei Wangju. I am not the real 6th prince, and Dongfangxia will not allow me to live for long. So I reminded you that marrying me might be the worst decision you have ever made in your life. That day's warning had become a prophecy. The wedding was stopped midway, and she was almost poisoned to death. Even if she survived this, there was a high chance that she would not be able to marry in the future. The saddest thing was that she could have become a princess of the imperial family, but now she was nothing. What, not the real 6th prince? Other than Bei Wangqin, who was shocked, the first prince, the second prince, and the others were calm and unsurprised. Especially the first prince, who had a strange look in his eyes. Why were his brothers so willing to hand over the fate of the nation to him after he had seized it? It was because the first prince had said something to them. The identity of the sixth prince is fake. In the ruins of the Dayu Empire, when the evil dragon lord triggered the seal in the body of the late emperor, everyone except Suyu was unaffected. The evil dragon lord had bluntly pointed out that he was not of the bloodline of the Eastern royal family. Even though they had not noticed it due to the pain of the seal, their people had all heard it. Because of this, the 5 princes had joined forces and treated the 6th prince as an outsider who was plotting to usurp the throne. Princess Rukin was not surprised. She sighed silently. After revealing the truth, he really could not stay. A trace of sadness flashed across her heart. Bei Wangzhu was a little surprised, but not too surprised. She had suspected Su Yu's identity from the very beginning. Mingling with the corpse clan and seizing the dragon cauldron did not seem like something a prince of the greater empire would do. She stared at Su Yu with a burning gaze. I do not regret it. What? Su Yu was startled. The north-gazing pearl broke into a smile. Choosing you is my greatest fortune. When she was poisoned, Su Yu had saved her. At that moment, she felt her heart beating wildly for the first time. She understood that that was true love. But I cannot give you a future, just as I said. Su Yu sighed silently. He had offended another girl for no reason. I will not go with you. Strangely, Bei Wangzhu smiled faintly. Her smile was a little lonely and envious. I know that if you want to find them, you can't take me with you. Su Yu was silent. Didn't you want to ask where they went? Let me tell you. Bei Wangzhu said bitterly. The Pearl Corpse King went to the Sinful Lady Palace. The beautiful woman named Xia Jingyu and Xinga went to the Divine Lady Clan. You are looking for them, and they are looking for you. Well, they mistakenly thought that you had died at the hands of the Sinful Lady Palace. Su Yu's pupils shrank, and a rare look of joy appeared on his face. It was a joy that came from the bottom of his heart. Xia Jingyu and Xinga were not dead, but why were they with Zhuji? They must have been imprisoned by Zhuji before. She released them after you died. She wanted to have one more person in this world who would remember you. I am one of them. Bei Wangzhu suddenly felt that the curse was not necessarily a misfortune. Without batting an eyelid, she swiped her finger across the storage ring and crushed the divine herb that could dispel the curse into nothingness. Zhuji. Su Yu murmured with mixed feelings. He had thought that Zhuji was just acting on a whim. But after his death, she sought revenge on the Sinful Lady Palace like a moth flying into a flame. She said that if she dies and comes back to life one day, she would like us who remember you to tell her that she loved a man called Su Yu in her previous life. The north-gazing Pearl hated Zhu Ji to the core, but when she repeated her words at this moment, she felt sad and touched. In the face of love, Zhu Ji regarded herself as lowly as a speck of dust. As she said, she only wanted to be a vine that reached the sky. She did not ask for the big tree to look her in the eye, but only to grow together with it. Even if she had to endure wind, frost, rain, and thunder, she did not regret it. She was willing to endure it. If she is still alive, please don't let her wait for her next life. After saying that, Bei Wangzhu slowly closed her eyes, and tears streamed down the corners of her eyes. Compared to Zhuji, she did not dare to mention her so-called love at all. It was too pale. I will find her. Su Yu's heart sank. He cupped his fists and bowed deeply. Thank you for telling me. I will leave now. After saying that, he turned around and left. He chose a slightly secluded place and slashed out a large hole with his sword, revealing the earth veins under the palace. Without saying a word, he went into it immediately. Then he came to the ancient Fuyao formation with ease. He slapped the wall with his palm, and a large number of deep veins appeared immediately. Perhaps Dongfang Xia never dreamed that I would have a copy of the Starstone and star map. His palm changed shape, and a golden box appeared. When he was looking for Huan Yu Longjuan's cavern, he found 3 things in a secret mechanism: the Tiani Bao, the Fu Luo earth core in a silver box, and a mysterious object in a golden box, a black stone, and a scroll covered with dots and lines. He did not know what the latter was until Huan Mei personally demonstrated its use. It was the Star Stone and Star Map. Chapter 1848. Without another word, Su Yu pasted the star map onto the pattern. The pattern immediately distorted, and a spiraling vortex appeared in the center of the formation. It was just big enough to fit a starstone in. Just as Su Yu was about to put it in, a beautiful figure suddenly rushed over from afar. It was none other than Princess Rukin. Her small face was flushed, and her voluptuous breasts were swaying up and down, looking very alluring. "Why are you here?" Su Yu asked in surprise. Princess Rukin panted, gasping for air as she said, I want to go with you, brother." Su Yu furrowed his brows. "Are you sure you didn't say anything wrong?" "Yes." Princess Rukin's eyes were filled with seriousness. Su Yu said seriously, "I want to go to the Dark Star civilization, which is very dangerous. If you follow me, it will only bring you harm." Princess Rukin's snow-white face was slightly flushed, and she said shyly, "Brother, I have thought it through. In life, one should enjoy one's achievements to the fullest. If you leave this time, we might never meet again. I don't want to spend the rest of my life regretting it." She expressed her affection in a single sentence. "You." Su Yu's heart softened, and he said, "What about your position as the crown prince? You have spent your entire life's work to finally get what you want. Isn't it a pity to give it up just like that?" Princess Rukin shook her head, her gaze becoming even more resolute. "I only got the position of the crown prince to avenge my mother and uncle. Now that my enemies have been killed by you, the position of the crown prince is no longer important." She was willing to give up a great empire for him. Su Yu's heart softened, and he gently stroked her head. "Silly girl, is it worth it? As Shuer said, I still have to find another woman, so I can't take you with me." Princess Rukin's face was flushed, and she lowered her head. Without a word, she threw herself into Su Yu's arms and said in a low voice, "I just want to stay by your side forever. Be it your sister or your wife, it's up to you." As he listened to her soft and affectionate words and felt the softness in his arms, Su Yu nodded and pushed her away lightly. He then said, "Fine, I'll take you with me, but before I leave, I'll give you a gift." Princess Rukin's face became even redder. She lowered her head and shyly stared at her toes, looking like a young girl yearning for love. A dim light flickered in Su Yu's palm, and the ice-cold Azura sword fell into his palm. The gentle expression on Su Yu's face was replaced by a fierce and deep murderous intent. He thrust the Azura sword in his hand toward Princess Rukin's chest mercilessly. Everything happened very suddenly. No one would have thought that Su Yu, who doted on Princess Rukin, would attack her. Moreover, it was a fatal blow. That ruthlessness and decisiveness was like a completely different person. The tip of the sword quickly reached her chest. She lowered her head and didn't even have time to react. Just as Princess Rukin was about to die, a horrifying scene ensued. Princess Ru Chen's 2 fingers moved like lightning, easily catching the tip of the Azura Sect sword. No matter how much force Su Yu exerted, he could not pierce through it. She lowered her head so that her expression could not be seen clearly, but her voice became unusually cold and serene. "Hee, what a great gift. I am flattered." That voice was not Princess Rukin at all. Su Yu snorted coldly. A layer of red scales appeared on his arms, and his body was surrounded by the law of giant strength. The Azura sword in his hand stabbed out with 10 times the strength. Chi! The tip of the sword broke free from Princess Rukin's fingers and pierced her chest. However, the sword had only pierced through her clothes. It had not even pierced through her skin. Su Yu was shocked. "Who are you?" he asked. The other party was not Princess Rookin at all. Princess Rookin raised her head. Her eyes had become extremely deep, and she had an evil smile on her face. "Why don't I ask first? How did you see through me?" I thought that I had a clear grasp of everything about Princess Rookin, and there would not be a single flaw in my disguise. As she spoke, she flicked her finger lightly and sent the Azura sect sword flying. Su Yu's hand went numb, and the long sword almost slipped out of his hand. The other party's terrifying abilities were definitely not inferior to Dongfang Xia's. Su Yu's mind raced as he said, "You were wrong from the very beginning." "How was I wrong?" Princess Rookin had a faint smile on her face. Firstly, Princess Rookin would not get rid of Emperor Wuhan. What she values most is kinship. That is her nature. However, you did not mention a word about Emperor Wuhan's whereabouts or whether he is safe or not. Secondly, the terrain of the Earth Meridian is extremely complicated. It is like a maze. How could Princess Rookin have chased after him alone? From the very beginning, Su Yu had known that the one who had chased after him was not Princess Rookin. Or rather, it was another Princess Rookin. He had felt that Princess Rookin was very strange a long time ago. Sometimes she was confused, but at other times her eyes were filled with a frighteningly deep gaze. Because of this, he had even secretly probed Princess Rookin's soul. He had not discovered that she was being controlled by another consciousness. Only then did he gradually forget about it. He had not expected that there was something wrong with her body and that there was another consciousness. "I see." Princess Rookin's lips curled. "I was careless. I chased after you when I saw you heading straight for the Earth Meridian. I did not take care of these minor details." She had indeed chased after the star stones and the star map. Su Yu calmly said, "Then who are you?" Hearing this, Princess Rookin smiled evilly. Two golden, fleshy horns slowly grew from her forehead. She said meaningfully, "You are holding the revered dragon sword, the royal power of the dragon clan's royal family, but you are asking me who I am? Brother, don't you find this funny? Dragon horns." Su Yu turned pale with fright. He had once obtained the epic-making dragon's horns, so he was very familiar with them. "I really did not expect you to be from the dragon clan, and a member of the dragon clan's royal family." Su Yu stared deeply at Princess Rookin. The shock in his heart was indescribable. Princess Rookin calmly said, "To be precise, you should call me Princess. I am the Dragon Emperor's third dragon daughter, Princess Linglong." And a princess. He no longer had the time to ask why her consciousness had appeared in Princess Rookin's body. This was because Princess Linglong's eyes were releasing wisps of murderous intent. "Give me the Star Stone and the revered dragon sword." Princess Rookin looked at Su Yu intently and said, "I do not wish to kill you. This little girl's feelings for you are real. If I really kill you and she tries to commit suicide, it will be a big problem for me. However, you must not go against my will. Normally, anyone who steals the Dragon Clan's treasures will definitely die, let alone the revered dragon sword." Princess Rookin's temperament was ice cold. "I have already spared your life for the little girl's sake. Otherwise, I would have killed you the moment you took out the revered dragon sword." Su Yu held the Star Stone in his hand, glancing at the half-activated ancient Fuyao formation. He hesitated. "Don't make me say it again," Princess Linglong said coldly. At that moment, Su Yu, who was hesitating, suddenly unfurled the yin-yang wings on his back. With a light flap, he disappeared into thin air. Princess Linglong came to a sudden realization. She said angrily, "How dare you trick me?" Su Yu's questions were meant to buy time. He secretly took out the advanced level yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole. The revered dragon sword and star stone were related to his life and situation. How could he hand them over so easily? With a teleportation, he escaped. Princess Linglong grabbed the air and pulled the star map back. With a flash of her eyes, pink flames rushed out and burned through the countless earth veins above her head, revealing the outside world. Let's see where you can run to. Princess Linglong's figure flashed as she dashed out, searching for Suyu. Her lips then turned cold as she locked onto his direction. Feeling the aura locking onto him, Suyu was extremely depressed. The last time he had used the ancient Fuyao formation, he had almost escaped, but Dongfangxia had appeared. This time he had almost escaped again, but the daughter of the Dragon Emperor had appeared. Not only that, but he had also lost the star map. Without the star map, he could not use the ancient Fuyao formation. What was even more infuriating was that the daughter of the Dragon Emperor was chasing after him. With a flash, he flew out of the palace. Along the way, several single-crowned emperors from the Dark Moon clan had sensed Suyu, but they were being chased by the 3 emperors, unable to catch up. They watched as Suyu flew out of the palace. All of a sudden, a ferocious 1,000-foot-long water dragon rushed over from near the palace gates. It said fiercely, "Brat, you have finally come out. I have been waiting for you for a long time." Suyu was stunned. He only remembered who the water dragon before him was. The first time he had ridden a meteorite to the Diu Empire, he had encountered an emperor-level water dragon along the way. He had searched everywhere for the method to control the meteorite, saying that he was crafting a secret treasure that could allow him to travel through the void. He had also targeted Suyu. It had been a few years, but this water dragon was still thinking about Suyu. Now that the palace was in chaos, he had taken the opportunity to ambush and attack Suyu. Suyu could not help but feel a little amused. Was this necessary? Why was he so persistent? Without even looking, the scales on Suyu's right hand flashed, and a dragon claw struck out. The water dragon emperor was stunned. Wasn't that a dragon claw? When he came to his senses, he hurriedly used his claws to block, but Suyu's claw shattered half of his body. "Ah, you." The water dragon emperor could not believe it. It was as if he was about to eat a sheep, only to find out that the sheep was the tail of a tiger. The water dragon emperor was scared out of his wits, turning to flee. Suyu laughed coldly. "Since you are here, why are you leaving?" He clawed through the air, shattering the other half of the dragon's body. A water dragon's soul hurriedly escaped, but Suyu grabbed it and stuffed it between his eyebrows. In that moment of delay, Princess Linglong's aura was much closer. This woman. Suyu was furious. He once again activated the advanced yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole and quickly fled. Princess Linglong, who was about to catch up, was once again left behind. She could not help but grit her teeth in anger. This damned bastard! Gritting her teeth, she gave chase again. The two of them chased each other from the imperial city to the fiefdom, and from fiefdom to fiefdom. Princess Linglong was unbelievably powerful, but she seemed to be relying on some kind of secret technique. After all, Princess Rooken's body only had this little bit of cultivation. As time went on, her body gradually showed signs of collapsing. Suyu was not much better. The advanced yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole was a bottomless pit of divine power. He had used it 4 times, and almost half of it had been used up. If they continued to chase, he would not be able to hold on for long. The two of them chased, unknowingly covering half of the empire, and finally returned to the imperial city. At the same time, deep in the earth vein, the Baiwe sect leader had crushed Dongfangxia to the point where he could not fight back, and the latter's injuries were worsening. It looked like he would either surrender or die here today. You don't know what's good for you. The Baiwe sect leader attacked again. Strangely, Dongfangxia no longer put up a fearless resistance. He simply remained motionless, an enigmatic sneer on his face. Chapter 1849. Sect leader Baiyu, don't tell me you think that I didn't prepare anything for you? Dongfangxia smiled strangely. Since he had already investigated that it was the moon worshipping cult that supported Dongfang Shenlei, How could he not guard against the arrival of the moon-worshipping cult leader? The Reverence Moon Sect leader was startled. He narrowed his eyes and looked around. Hee, did you think that the imperial palace of the Dayu Empire was built on countless earth veins without any purpose? Dongfang Xia stood up, and the smile on his face deepened. Sect Master Baiyue, say goodbye. You should regret provoking me and the Dayu dynasty. His palms turned into claws and grabbed the ground, pulling out countless twisting earth veins. Dongfang Xiao's palms crazily absorbed the power of the earth veins and converged into an energy ball the size of a pigeon's egg. In an instant, no less than 1,000 earth veins were sucked dry. The energy ball in his palm was abnormally powerful. The Lord of the Moon worshipping sect stared at the pigeon egg energy ball, his eyelids twitching slightly. Extracting earth veins, this is the unique, innate, divine technique of the blood crystal race. All the middle-tier races and above had innate talents. The dark moon race possessed the black light that could petrify and stiffen people, and the blood crystal race, which was of the upper third tier, was no exception. However, the blood crystal race was very mysterious. For many years, the moon worshipping cult had tried to find out what kind of talents the Eastern royal family was good at, but apart from using blood to grow blood bodhi, they had never heard of any special abilities. But now, Dongfang Xia had actually used his human body to directly extract the earth veins, causing a trace of panic to appear in his heart. You didn't expect it, did you? No one in the imperial family has ever used it, but you're the first one. Dongfang Xia sneered. He grabbed with his right hand and extracted a large amount of earth veins power. The pigeon egg-sized whirlwind in his palm thickened to the size of a fist. A destructive power was roaring in it, about to erupt. The Reverence Moon Sect leader sensed the danger and slowly retreated. Dongfang Xia snickered. I was heavily injured by you to lure you into the earth vein. Do you think I would let you go? Chaotic dance of earth vein. Rumble! In an instant, the entire underground vein seemed to have come to life, turning into countless twisting snakes that blocked off all paths of retreat. The Reverence Moon Sect leader didn't dare to stay any longer. With a single punch, he shattered a large portion of the earth veins and tried to escape. Since the talent of the blood crystal race was the earth vein, as long as they left this place, Dongfang Xia would not be a threat. His wishful thinking was good, but who was Dongfang Xia? How could an ambitious and ruthless person who was good at scheming let him off so easily? Earth vein overlapping. The remaining earth veins suddenly twisted together, squeezing and compressing each other crazily. The 10,000 zhang deep earth veins were compressed to 100 zhang, becoming extremely solid. The Reverence Moon Sect leader attacked, but he couldn't break through. At the same time, Dongfang Xia held a fist-sized energy ball in his hand and attacked with a grim smile. Sect Master Baiyue, I'll return everything you've given me just now. The power of the earth vein, which had been compressed to the limit, erupted like a volcano. The sect leader's scalp went numb, and he turned around to resist. Praying moon, divine light. A black moon appeared above his head, shooting out large amounts of black light, petrifying everything around him. At a speed visible to the naked eye, the entire earth vein had turned pitch black. However, Dongfang Xia was the only one who was enveloped by the power of the earth veins. He was like a bright sun rising against the light. Black and white collided in the depths of the earth vein. Bang! The palace on the ground was instantly shattered into nothingness, and a large number of eunuchs and maids were directly killed. Even the eldest prince and the others with cultivation were sent flying into the sky, their blood and chi tumbling inside their bodies, and they were all injured. Lowering his head, he saw a shock wave visible to the naked eye spreading out in all directions with the royal palace as the center. When the shock wave left the range of the palace, it was no longer suppressed by the solid earth vein, and exploded at a speed 10 times faster than before. Rather than saying the entire imperial city was shattered, it would be more accurate to say that it was destroyed by the shockwave. Countless houses, livestock, and even human beings were all killed. The powerful shockwave did not lose its momentum, and it rushed out of the imperial city. Wherever it passed, everything was destroyed. Far away at the border, the northern mountain land and the snow lion land felt a deep tremor. Catastrophic earthquakes occurred all over the country, and the casualties were immeasurable. At the source of the world-shaking disaster, Dongfang Xia stared coldly at a human-shaped hole, and half of the Reverence Moon sect leader's body. In a battle of strength, the power of the Earth Vein was far superior to that of the Reverence Moon sect leader. Half of the Reverence Moon sect leader's body was smashed, and he was severely injured. However, he detonated the Black Moon and forcefully blasted a hole in the Earth Vein above his head. Humph! Do you think you can escape? Dongfang Xia sneered and chased after him. They were both 3 crown emperors, but now that the other party was heavily injured, he was no longer a threat. Unbeknownst to him, not long after he left, the upper half of his body, which was shrouded in black light, quietly drilled deeper into the Earth Vein. At the same time, as soon as Suyu arrived at the imperial palace, he witnessed the earth-shattering shock wave with his own eyes. His transparent eyes scanned the ground, and his expression changed. A large portion of the Earth Vein withered again, and the remaining Earth Vein was less than half of what it was the last time he came. He did not know if it could sustain the activation of the ancient Fuyao formation again. What shocked him even more was that Dongfang Xia had come out. Dongfang Xia glanced over and noticed Suyu. However, he quickly glanced past him and did not take him seriously. In other words, his main purpose now was to execute the Baiyu sect master. Suyu would deal with him later. Suyu's heart skipped a beat. He had never expected Dongfang Xia to be so powerful. He was obviously at a disadvantage, but he still managed to turn the tables. He had to go. If he didn't leave now, he might never be able to leave the Dayu Empire. Chirp! Princess Linglong chased after him with a frosty expression. Suyu hesitated for a moment, but he stood still and did not try to escape. Hand over the star stone and the royal dragon's sword. Princess Linglong chased after him and used her divine technique without hesitation. Suyu did not hide or evade. He calmly said, "If you and I continue to chase after each other, I'm afraid neither of us will be able to leave the Dayu Empire." Princess Linglong's gaze swept over the area. She seemed to have sensed the great changes in the Earth Vein. Her beautiful pupils shrank slightly, and her pretty face became gloomy. Regardless of whether you want to take back the royal dragon sword, at least at this moment, we are of the same mind. If we continue to fight, Dongfang Xia will return, and neither of us will be able to leave. Do you think I'm afraid of him? Princess Linglong clenched her teeth and sneered. Suyu calmly said, "If you're not afraid, why did you only dare to hide? And you only dared to reveal your true self now. Taking advantage of the chaos? I'm guessing that even though you have a powerful cultivation base, you can't maintain it for too long. That's why you've been enduring until now, right?" Princess Linglong's eyes flickered, as if Suyu had seen through her. Indeed, even though she had powerful abilities, with Princess Rukin's frail body, she could not even use 30% of her abilities. She could still kill her enemy in a short period of time, but against someone of Dongfang Xia's level, if they were to engage in a prolonged battle, she would definitely be defeated. Hence, Princess Linglong had been enduring all these years, not daring to reveal any of her abilities in front of Dongfang Xia. Now that she had spent so much energy chasing after Suyu, she was almost at her limit. If she continued to chase after him, her consciousness would fall into a deep slumber again, and Princess Rukin would take control of her body. That would be a huge problem. After some consideration, she nodded. "Fine. Anyway, the royal dragon sword won't be with you for just a day or two. I'll leave it with you for a few more days." The two of them came to an agreement. Without another word, they chose a shattered earth vein and quickly entered it. The terrain of the earth vein was vastly different from what she remembered. Princess Linglong frowned but did not hesitate. It was as if she was born with it, and she was extremely familiar with the earth vein. Before long, they once again arrived before the ancient Fuyao Formation. The two of them had a tacit understanding and did not attack. Princess Linglong shook the ancient Fuyao Formation with her palm and placed the star map on it. The lines twisted to form a vortex. Su Yu did not say anything, preparing to place the star stone inside. Wait. Princess Linglong suddenly sensed something and stopped Su Yu. Su Yu was cautious. He kept the star stone and said coldly, "Are you going back on your word?" "No. Someone is here." Princess Linglong grabbed the air and pulled back a mass of air. There were a few faintly discernible wisps of black gas in the air. Su Yu's pupils shrank. The Dark Moon Clan. Almost at that moment, a sharp black light suddenly shot out from the stone wall behind Su Yu, directly piercing through Su Yu's back. Luckily, Su Yu was prepared. A large patch of space blades appeared on the surface of his body, stacking and wrapping around his back tightly. At the same time, he transformed into a half-dragon, his entire body covered in scales. Creak! The space blades immediately turned pitch black. A large patch of black light broke through his defenses and struck Su Yu's body. Ding, 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 his red scales quickly turned black and red, a sign that he was about to turn into stone. Luckily, the space blades blocked most of the black light, and only a small portion of it managed to penetrate through. Su Yu's body shook off the black light on the surface of his body, and he stared coldly behind him. The Dragon Clan? 2 dragons? A mass of inky black light emanated from the stone wall, forming a complete human figure in front of them. The Baiwes sect master. Su Yu's pupils shrank violently. Although the other party was dressed in a black robe and no one could see his face clearly, his terrifying aura was unmistakable. No, Su Yu keenly sensed that his aura had dropped by more than half, and his body was especially fragile. It seemed that Dongfang Xia had still managed to seriously injure him. It was no wonder. If the Baiwes sect master had personally attacked, the black light would not have been so weak. "I don't care who you are. Give me the Starstone, and I will spare your life." The Baiwes sect master had obviously come for the Starstone. At the critical moment, he had smashed the gap in the Earth Meridian, but he did not escape. Instead, he had taken advantage of the huge shock wave to hide in the Earth Meridian. The gap was to deceive people and lure Dongfang Xia away. He had hidden in the Earth Meridian, waiting for a chance to escape. He had thought that he would have to hide for a long time, but he did not expect that 2 people would sneak into the Diyu Empire's ancient Fuyao Formation. Seeing that the ancient formation was about to be activated, he had appeared to seize the Starstone. "Dream on!" Princess Linglong's eyes flashed coldly. The Baiwes sect master stared at her, his pupils constricting slightly. He then sneered, "You don't seem to be able to use your full strength. To be precise, you are like a lamp that has run out of oil and cannot hold on for much longer. Are you sure you want to fight with me?" Princess Linglong sneered. "How dare you boast in front of me with your newly reconstructed body?" Her eyes flashed, and a large expanse of pink flames shot out. Chapter 1850. He hurriedly gathered a black moon on top of his head, releasing a large black light that shrouded his body. Creak! The boundless karmic flame immediately burned all the black light and swept towards the worshipping sect leader. The latter's expression changed drastically. Taking advantage of the moment when the black light was blocked, he quickly fled to the side. However, the boundless karmic flame fell on the stone wall and immediately set the withered land on fire. There was no sign of it stopping. Unless the master withdrew it, the boundless karmic flame would continue to burn and could not be extinguished by any means. At least, they could not find such a way. Fortunately, your strength is limited. Otherwise, I would have to retreat from this boundless karmic flame alone. The worshipping sect leader heaved a sigh of relief after the false alarm. Then his expression turned sinister. Now, there's nothing else you can do, right? Then go to hell. How powerful was the attack of the three-crown divine warrior? Even a casual blow from him would inevitably affect Su Yu, who was nearby. With a flash of light in his eyes, he suddenly took out a golden crystal sword and slashed forward. Most of the worshipping sect leader's attention was focused on Princess Linglong. She was the biggest threat. In his eyes, Su Yu was just an ant. The worshipping sect leader saw the sword but did not care. He flicked his finger, intending to deflect the sword. However, when the sword neared, he felt an immeasurable amount of boundless karmic flame. Compared to Princess Linglong's pink, boundless karmic flame, the boundless karmic flame in the sword was several times stronger. He was horrified. It was too late to use the black light to block in front of him, so he could only dodge and retreat. However, the sword swept past, and a faint flame touched his body. Whoosh! In an instant, the flame soared dozens of times, burning the worshipping sect leader into a raging, flaming man. Ah, damn it, take it back. The worshipping sect leader roared and pounced on Su Yu. Princess Linglong stared at the strange golden flame, her eyes filled with deep shock. However, she had no time to ask about the details in front of her enemy. Her hands formed spells, and the two dragon horns on her head emitted wonderful ripples. He chanted the ancient dragon clan's incantation with conviction. She thought Su Yu could not understand it, but little did she know that Su Yu understood the ancient dragon language better than she did. She used the ultimate technique of the Dragon Emperor bloodline. Dragon blood boil! He ignited his own dragon blood and turned it into a formless wave of annihilation that was extremely powerful. The strength of the ripples was determined by the strength of the dragon blood in her body. To be honest, her current dragon blood was so thin that it was negligible. Even Su Yu's dragon blood was far inferior to hers. However, the ripples that were released caused Su Yu's pupils to contract. A pair of dragon horns swept out, and the worshipping moon sect leader, who was a three-crown emperor, turned to dust with a pung. Not even his soul was left. With just one move, he had destroyed both his body and soul. The dragon monarch's ultimate skill was simply too overbearing. Sacrificing dragon blood would allow the weak to defeat the strong. Without batting an eyelid, Su Yu memorized all of the incantations she had just chanted without missing a single word. After eliminating the enemy, Princess Linglong was not the least bit worried that her ultimate technique would be learned. She glanced at the interspatial storage device left behind by the worshipping hierarch and asked, "Don't you want it?" "Why don't you want it?" Su Yu naturally wanted it, but the worshipping hierarch was killed by Princess Linglong. Before she expressed her stance, it was naturally not his turn to snatch it away. Princess Linglong snorted. "Anyway, this silly little girl will definitely give it to you. Even if I pick it up, it will still be a bargain for you." That was true. Once Princess Rookin's consciousness took over her body, she would most likely hand over the interspatial storage device to Su Yu. Whether she picked it up or not, it would belong to Su Yu. Huh. Su Yu laughed and did not stand on ceremony as he put it away. The interspatial storage device of a three-crown emperor. There must be a lot of treasures in it. All right, let's set off immediately. The commotion just now might have been detected by Dongfangxia, Princess Linglong urged. Su Yu nodded and placed the star stone into it. The formation immediately began to operate frantically. Endless power of the Earth's veins was drawn over as the power for the formation to operate. Dongfangxia, who was searching for traces of the worshipping hierarch near the imperial palace, suddenly sensed the changes in the Earth's veins. His expression changed drastically. "Oh no, I've been tricked." Anxious, he immediately charged into the Earth's veins, madly rushing in the direction of the ancient Fuyao formation. When he arrived before the ancient Fuyao Formation, the transportation had already entered its final stage. A large expanse of white light was blinding, illuminating the faces of the two people in the formation. He had thought it was the hierarch, but after taking a closer look, he could not help but be shocked. Suyu, Rookin, why are you two here? Suyu stared at him coldly, not saying a word. His heart sank. He had seen with his own eyes how Dongfang Xia single-handedly stopped the transportation of the ancient Fuyao Formation. Was he going to fail again? The consequences would be unimaginable. He could imagine what Dongfang Xia would do to him. With no one around, it was the best opportunity to get rid of him. Princess Linglong was also shocked. She did not have the ability to fight a three-crown emperor head-on. Secretly clenching her teeth, she pretended to be Princess Rookin again. Since she could not escape, she could only pretend to be Princess Rookin again. But she pushed the responsibility to Suyu this time. She blinked her eyes, revealing an aggrieved expression. Father, I eloped with my brother. Please forgive me and don't miss me. What nonsense is this woman talking about? The veins on Suyu's forehead throbbed. Had she not angered Dongfang Xia enough? He had kidnapped his daughter and eloped. What father would not be angry? Moreover, Dongfang Xia had wanted to kill him for a long time. However, to Suyu's surprise, Dongfang Xia stood where he was with his hands clasped behind his back. His face, which was covered in blood, showed a rare look of gentleness. He did not stop him, nor did he get angry. Instead, he smiled lightly and sighed. Fine, I'll give you the wedding gifts I prepared for you in advance. He took out a pair of necklaces. One was a dragon-shaped pendant, the other a phoenix-shaped pendant. They were wrapped in a bright red box. They had been prepared not long ago. He casually threw them into the transportation formation. Princess Linglong was stunned for a moment before catching them. She had said that to divert Dongfang Xia's anger. It was just a casual excuse. She did not expect Dongfang Xia to have such an unusual attitude. Father, you... Princess Linglong did not understand. Your daughter is going to elope with someone? Why are you not angry at all? Dongfang Xia looked deeply at Princess Rookin, his eyes full of tenderness. Among all of you siblings, the one I owe the most is you. I could not protect your mother, causing you to lose her at a young age. I was busy with the affairs of the empire and rarely cared about you. Thank you, Wu Hin, for taking care of you all these years. I have always wanted to make it up to you, but I could not find the opportunity until Suyu appeared. Dongfang Xia looked at Suyu, the coldness in his eyes dissipating. Suyu, do not resent me for using you and the north-facing pearl as bait. I am also giving you a new identity. The sixth prince died in the battle and saved the commoners of the imperial family. Suyu became famous and married the princess of the imperial family and became the emperor's son-in-law. Dongfang Xia said slowly. That was his original plan. I never thought of killing you. How could I bear to kill someone like you who has mastered the 8 great laws? Moreover, you are the person Rookin likes. Even if there are thousands of reasons to kill you, as long as she likes you, the reason to kill you is not a reason. Suyu's eyes widened. Just as he had expected, Dongfang Xia would not allow Suyu, whose background was unknown, to continue to exist as a member of the imperial family. However, he did not expect that Dongfang Xia had never thought of killing him. Instead, he wanted to take the opportunity to return his identity to Suyu's and finally marry his daughter. I don't understand. Why do you have to do this? Suyu said. He and Princess Rookin were more like siblings. Dongfang Xia lowered his head and smiled. His smile was a little lonely. As a father, how could I not understand my daughter's thoughts? Rookin likes you. When I announced the engagement between you and the north-facing pearl, I knew the disappointment in her eyes better than anyone else. I wanted to fulfill her wish and make up for my many years of regret, but now that you have other choices, as a father, I can only choose to give my blessings. He waved his hand lightly. "Rukin, if it is possible, come back and visit me while I am still alive. You are my daughter, the only daughter I have left." Vicissitudes of life, loss, and sorrow filled his forehead. Princess Linglong was stunned. Dongfang Xia was the complete opposite of the cold and heartless Dongfang Xia in her memory. For a moment, she could not help but be moved. It was a pity that all parents in the world cared about their children. Who didn't think for their children? No matter how cold and heartless he was, he had a gentle side to his children. She seemed to think of the Dragon Emperor, who was also cold and heartless, but at the last moment he used his dragon body to block the attack of the epic-making dragon for her and perished. A tear rolled down her cheek, and she nodded, choking with sobs. "I'm sorry, father." She was apologizing to the Dragon Emperor, and also to Dongfang Xia on behalf of Princess Rukin. Goodbye, my daughter." With a flash of white light, they entered the final teleportation stage. At last, he looked at Suyu and nodded with a smile. "Treat her well." Suyu was also moved. He nodded his head. "I will." The teleportation was imminent. Suyu said, "Don't worry, the Baiyiwe sect master has been killed." Dongfang Xia had already seen the ashes under his feet, but he did not look at them. His eyes were focused on Princess Rukin. He watched her disappear bit by bit. At last, the white light dissipated, leaving only an empty wall. Dongfang Xia stood in front of the wall for a long time, his eyes filled with sadness and apprehension. He wanted to be an ambitious man, so he was destined to give up many things, such as kinship. At the end of the void, a pitch-black vortex hung quietly in the universe, like a bottomless pit, swallowing everything in the universe. In the depths of the vortex, a beam of brilliant white light suddenly shot out from a dry, dark ancient land, igniting the dark world. Two figures, a man and a woman, emerged from the white light. Their bodies swayed. After stabilizing themselves, the man turned and fled without saying a word, and he fled very quickly. "Humph! Your reaction is quite fast." The woman smiled strangely and immediately chased after him. The two were naturally Suyu and the Dragon Emperor's daughter. After arriving at the Dark Star civilization, the only thing holding them back was the royal dragon sword. Suyu naturally would not hand it over so easily. Without another word, he turned and fled. However, Princess Linglong did not give Suyu the chance to use the yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole. She caught up with him in a few breaths, stretched out her arms, and hugged Suyu from behind. Chapter 1851. Princess Linglong's body was extremely agile. She wrapped her legs around his waist, while her arms wrapped around his neck. She was like an octopus with 8 claws. The advanced stage of yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole that Suyu was in the process of forming was immediately dispersed by her grip. "Brother, why are you running?" "Father said that you should treat me well." Suyu rolled his eyes. "That's for Rukin. Don't flatter yourself." Princess Linglong laughed coldly. "Am I not Rukin? Do you think I am her? Hand over the royal power dragon sword, and I will thank you." "Sure, we'll talk about it after you marry me." Suyu struggled to break free, but she tightened her grip. If this continued, it would be a stalemate. At that moment, he suddenly felt Princess Linglong's strength gradually weaken. Damn it, now of all times! Soon, her strength was reduced by half. Her eyes were filled with confusion and struggle, as if she was fighting for control with Princess Rukin. This damned girl! She really knows how to pick the right time. Princess Linglong was furious. She looked at Suyu, who was about to break free, and her eyes flashed, as if she had made a decision. A fire cloud mark suddenly appeared between her brows. It was enchanting and beautiful. Princess Linglong pressed her whole body against Suyu's again, her bright red lips kissing his. As their lips met, the fire cloud mark between Princess Linglong's brows turned into a ball of red light, entering Suyu's mouth through her lips. Soon, The fire cloud mark appeared between Su Yu's brows. Su Yu immediately felt something extra in his body. He struggled to push it away, his expression uncertain as he examined his body. He saw that the divine crystal of the soul was mixed with a dark red substance. The aura was vaguely like dragon's blood, but it was not. "What did you do?" Su Yu's expression was gloomy. Princess Linglong laughed. "Guess." Su Yu's eyes flashed coldly. "No need to guess. When your consciousness recedes, I will destroy you along with your soul." Princess Linglong puffed out her chest and laughed. "Come on, kill Princess Rukin if you can." Su Yu only laughed coldly, his killing intent undiminished. So what if he killed her? It was not like he did not have the means to revive Princess Rukin. Moreover, it could even revive the pure Princess Rukin, completely destroying the other consciousness in her body. As if sensing Su Yu's killing intent, Princess Linglong's expression changed slightly. "You are so cruel. You can even kill my little sister that you've known for so many days." Su Yu crossed his arms in front of his chest and calmly waited for her consciousness to sink into oblivion. He then smiled coldly and said, "To be precise, I'm going to kill you." Princess Linglong clenched her teeth. When she saw that the fire cloud seal between Su Yu's brows had completely stabilized, a strange smile appeared on her face. "Oh, I'll be merciful and tell you what it was just now. That's the curse of life and death unique to us dragon princesses. You can only use it once in your lifetime." Princess Linglong sneered. The curse of life and death? He had never heard of it. At least, there was no such curse in the divine arts of the dragon race that he knew. A long time ago, the first dragon lady fell in love with a mortal. However, a union between a human and a dragon would definitely incur the wrath of heaven. The dragon monarch also strongly opposed it and sent the experts of the dragon clan to the mortal world to kill that mortal. When the dragon lady found out about this, she returned to the mortal world and risked her life to protect the mortal. Hearing this, don't you think that this should be a heart-wrenching love story? Princess Linglong said meaningfully. The ending should have been like this, but in reality, that mortal was just a heartless and selfish person. When the experts of the dragon clan came to kill him, he resolutely stole the dragon lady's dragon pearl and fled to a hostile faction of the dragon clan to seek protection. The dragon lady, who had lost her dragon pearl, gradually became weaker and finally died of old age. She was filled with resentment for her entire life, and before she died, she turned her resentment into a blood crystal. The dragon monarch also deeply cherished his beloved daughter, so he made a decision. He spent countless years to fuse the blood crystal into his body. From then on, all descendants of the dragon clan's royal family will have the power of the blood crystal in their veins. Hearing this, Su Yu's expression became unsightly. Something that was formed by the first dragon lady's resentment was definitely not a good thing. That blood crystal's function is a curse, and it links the fate of the person you love together. Princess Linglong pointed at herself. "If I die, as my beloved, you will die immediately. Don't doubt it. Even if you are the Path Master, you won't be able to escape from it." Path Master. Su Yu's heart sank, and his expression became gloomy. He pointed at himself. "So if I die, will you die with me? Since their fates are linked, they should influence each other. In your dreams, even if you die, I will still be alive and kicking." The veins on Su Yu's forehead twitched. Didn't they say that their fates are linked? If you die, I will definitely die. If I die first, nothing will happen to you. If the curse passed down by the dragon clan's royal family was really something as simple as exchanging one's life for another, then it wouldn't be so precious. It's an inherited curse that can only be used once in a lifetime by every princess. Princess Linglong felt that it was a pity. She had originally planned to leave it for her future husband to use as a precaution against his betrayal. In her heart, her future husband should be at least at the Pathmaster level. However, she had never expected that she would be forced to use it on Suyu. From then on, her safety was in Suyu's hands. As such, even if she lost consciousness, she believed that Suyu would do his best to protect her, for the sake of his own life. Suyu really wanted to strangle her. He had never done anything wrong to this woman, and he had even helped Princess Rukin, whom he was staying with. However, she was not grateful at all. Instead, she treated him like this. You Dragon Clan's people are each more rude and unreasonable than the other. The epic-making dragons are like this, and so are the evil Dragon Lord and the Fire Dragon Lord. Even you, the daughter of the Dragon Emperor, are like this. Suyu sighed deeply. Princess Linglong's bewildered eyes focused slightly. Yes, when you wake up next time, besides handing over the royal power and the dragon sovereign sword, you should also account for the epic-making dragons. When she finished speaking, she closed her eyes as if she had lost consciousness. Killing intent flashed past Suyu's eyes several times, but he suppressed it in the end. The red object in her soul was indeed obscure and dangerous. After a moment of silence, he walked forward and helped the unconscious Princess Rukin up. At that moment, she opened her eyes with a groan. What she saw was a pitch-black world and Suyu, who was very close to her. Ah, royal brother, where are we? The Dark Star civilization. What? Wasn't I with the eldest royal brother and the others? Did you kidnap me? Suyu smiled bitterly as he looked at the innocent, pretty face. To be precise, you kidnapped me. His eyelids twitched at the thought of Princess Linglong. He would never let this be *TCH get what she wanted. The Dark Star civilization was prosperous and prosperous. How could he not find a way to subdue her? What does 1 + 1 equal? Suyu asked suddenly. Princess Rukin blinked and said, 2. What's wrong? Nothing. Just checking if you are Princess Rukin. Princess Rukin glared at him. What do you mean? Do you think I don't know that 1 + 1 equals 2? I even know that 1 + 2 equals 3. Suyu smiled without saying a word. It was pitch black all around. He had no idea how many dangers there were, so it was not advisable to move around. He found a cave and made some arrangements in the surroundings to hide the cave. Then he took out the space storage device of the Bios sect leader, a scepter forged from an unknown black bone. Inside the scepter was a large cavern world. Since he had already fallen, Suyu easily broke through the defense line and entered. Mountains of unknown materials came into view. Many of them had the unique scent of the Dark Star civilization, and most of them had something to do with the innate black light. There was also a large pile of divine stones, about 100 million. Seeing so many divine stones, even Suyu could not help but lick his lips. How many things could he buy with this? He wondered if the entire Dayu Empire's storage of divine stones reached 100 million. After all, the divine stones of the Dayu Empire were not widely circulated. They were limited to the black market run by the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce. With so many divine stones, he could use them freely in the Dark Star civilization. Apart from that, there were various training techniques of the Dark Star civilization, including descriptions of the innate talent, Dark Moon Divine Light. Finally, there were some items that the Baiwe sect leader had kept for himself. For example, there were several black robes that were exactly the same as the one worn by the Baiwe sect leader. He did not notice it when he was wearing it, but upon closer inspection, he realized that the black robes were a little special. The material used to make them was the extremely precious extreme black dust. The extreme black dust was released by some black holes that devoured foreign objects in the void world. It surrounded the black holes all year round. Taking any one of them was extremely risky. Usually, a bottle of dust was worth at least 10 million divine stones. This black robe was made from the extreme black dust, and it had an incomparable effect on any kind of investigation. Even a pathmaster would have to examine carefully to see what was inside the black robe. As for the martial emperors, they could not tell what was inside at all. As members of the Dark Moon clan, the glaring white light was detrimental to their ability to condense the Dark Moon divine light. Therefore, most of the people of the Dark Moon clan were under the black robes. The black robes, made from the extreme black dust, were top-notch treasures. Su Yu thought for a moment, then took out 2 robes and put one on Princess Rookin. The aura and waves they gave off were incompatible with the Dark Star civilization. Anyone with a bit of insight could tell that they were not from the Dark Star civilization. Apart from that, there was also a token carved in the shape of a half-moon. It contained an extremely special aura, and the words Baiwa were carved on it. It was shaped like a key. So you took it out and put it in his robes. Apart from that, there was a map that depicted the entire territory of the Dark Star civilization. It was different from the entire territory of the Dayu Empire. The Dark Star civilization was controlled by the 10 great forces. The moon-worshipping cult was one of them, and it controlled the smallest piece of land. But even the smallest piece of land was about the same size as the Dayu Empire. The leader of the 10 great forces all respected an old fellow called the King of Darkness as their ancestor. He was the strongest existence in the Dark Star civilization, the Four-Crown Emperor. For many years, he did not care about the affairs of the world, hiding in the holy land of the Dark Star civilization, the sacred moon altar. Only when the Dark Star civilization was in turmoil would he appear to turn the tide. In the past, there was a Four-Crown Emperor who passed by the Dark Star civilization. He inadvertently started a massacre, which led to the ancestor of the Dark Star civilization, the King of Darkness. Chapter 1852. Every moonlit night, his screams would pierce through space and spread throughout the entire Dark Star civilization. From then on, no other forces dared to attack the Dark Star civilization. After understanding the whole picture, the emperor-killing sword that he wanted to know the most about was nowhere to be found. At least the moon-worshipping sect master did not record the relevant information in some jade pendants. It seemed like he could only ask someone, "Rookin, if there is a chance, I will send you back. But for now, you should still follow me, okay?" Princess Rookin was a little depressed. This was the first time she had left her home. She could not help but feel uneasy and nervous. "All right, I will follow you, brother." Princess Rookin quickly adjusted her state of mind after learning that the threat to the royal family had been lifted. Although Princess Linglong had impersonated her, most of what she had said was based on what she really thought. She did not care about the position of crown prince, and she was willing to follow Su Yu. Otherwise, she would have gone back to her home by now. "As long as I am here, I will not allow you to be bullied." Su Yu rubbed her small hand. Princess Rookin blushed and nodded slightly. Opening the stone door, the 2 of them left. But not long after, Su Yu's eyes suddenly froze. He was secretly surprised. He protected Princess Rookin behind him, secretly gripping the royal dragon sword. His expression was as if he was facing a great enemy. Princess Rookin also felt a vast, majestic aura pressing down on them. Sure enough, a beam of black moonlight descended. The auras of 6 double-crown divine warriors and dozens of single-crown divine warriors appeared from the black light. As soon as they appeared, they did not attack, nor did they question Su Yu and the others' identities. Instead, they bowed to Su Yu. "Welcome back, Sect Master." Sect Master? Su Yu was slightly taken aback. He immediately felt that the key token with the words "Worshipping Moon" carved on it was boiling hot. Did they rely on the key to identify people? After thinking about it carefully, Su Yu's heart slowly calmed down. If even the Pathmaster could not see through the black robe made of extremely black dust, how could the double-crowned divine warriors in front of him? Then, how could they identify the worshipping moon sect master? Only this special key. As for whether someone would steal the key and impersonate the worshipping moon sect master, if someone could take it away from the worshipping moon sect master, That person's ability would definitely surpass the 3-crowned divine warriors. But in the vast Dark Star civilization, how many 3-crowned divine warriors were there? Therefore, this probability was completely negligible. Understanding this, Su Yu's expression became calm. Recalling the voice of the Baiwe sect master, he said lightly, "Well, get up, all of you. What's happening in the sect recently?" The 6 of them looked at him respectfully. Reporting to sect master, "The 6 of us have handled the miscellaneous affairs of the sect according to sect master's decree. There is only one matter that requires sect master's personal review. Speak." Su Yu was not angry. The 6 of them became even more respectful. How could they have the mood to guess the authenticity of his identity? Sect leader Master Bao Kuan has invited sect leader to participate in the discussion between the 2 sides. Su Yu squinted his eyes. Master Bao Kuan was from the Dustless Moon faction, another great faction close to the Baiwe sect master. It was ranked 9th. In terms of strength, he was slightly stronger than the Reverence Moon sect leader. How could he meet such a person? Seeing that the Reverence Moon sect leader did not move, the man lowered his head and continued, "Perhaps we are discussing the missing Emperor Killer Sword. Sect leader, please make a decision." Su Yu's eyes flashed. Emperor Killer Sword. Was this not the reason he had come to the Dark Star civilization? Whether he could carry the 6 great rules and become a divine warrior of heaven and earth was crucial. He had wanted to send away the moon worshippers in front of him and leave, but now it seemed that he had to think about it further. Oh, did he send a letter or an envoy? It's his 3rd disciple, the Black Lotus Demon King. Su Yu thought about it and nodded slightly. Let's go to the moon worshippers' headquarters. We welcome sect leader's return. They led the way in front, respectfully inviting Su Yu to bring Princess Ru Qin back. It turned out that it was also because of the token that their teleportation was slightly affected, and they had landed on the outskirts of the moon worshippers' headquarters. Several double-crowned divine warriors who stayed behind the headquarters sensed the scent of the sect leader and rushed over with the higher-ups of the sect. The moon worshippers' headquarters was magnificent. Endless buildings were arranged in picturesque disorder, surrounding a huge black moon-shaped palace that stood out from the dust. There were tens of thousands of maidservants and countless servants in the palace, as well as an innumerable army of imperial guards. Princess Ru Qin secretly clicked her tongue as she watched. She secretly tugged on Su Yu's sleeve. This was even more prosperous than the Dayu Empire. Would it be a problem to impersonate the moon worshippers' headquarters? Su Yu secretly patted her palm, signaling her not to be nervous, as long as he didn't expose himself. So what if he pretended to be someone else? The higher-ups were already waiting at the side of Lunar Reverence Hall. "Welcome back, sect master." Everyone knelt down. Su Yu took up the mantle and sat on the throne of the Baiwe sect master. Looking down at the people below, his emotions did not fluctuate in the slightest. He was extremely calm. "You may rise. You've all worked hard in my absence. We are terrified." Looking at their expressions, it seemed that the Reverence Moon cult leader was usually very dignified, causing them to be extremely afraid. That's good too. "Summon the envoy of the Dustless Moon faction," Su Yu said indifferently. Someone immediately passed on the message. Not long after, a young man with a long fan in his hand and a black moon circling above his head entered. He was dressed in a black robe, but his face was exposed. He was a handsome young man, and his appearance was very similar to that of a human. He was the 3rd disciple of esteemed Bao Kuan, Black Lotus Demon Lord. "Greetings, sect leader Baiyu." He cupped his fists, not even bothering to bow. "How dare you? How dare you not kneel in front of the sect leader?" One of the 6 sect-protecting elders, the Double Crown Emperor, shouted. Black Lotus Demon Lord calmly unfolded his folding fan and said leisurely, "The noble people of your sect are often forgetful. Not long ago, Sect leader by you lost a bet with esteemed Bao Kuan. They agreed that from now on, no one from the Dustless Moon faction needs to bow when they see sect leader by you. Haha, I cupped my fists just now because of my respect for sect leader by you. Otherwise, Suyu heard this and frowned slightly. That sect leader by you is really useless. How could he gamble with his dignity? So much so that an ant of the Double Crown Emperor dared to act recklessly in front of sect leader by you. No wonder he was tricked by Dongfangxia. He deserved it. The 6 sect-protecting elders were secretly angry, and the rest of the Single Crown Emperor's elders were also furious. This matter had always been a disgrace to the Moon Cult, and even they felt ashamed. My words are worth 1,000 gold. It is up to you whether you want to kneel or not. What message did esteemed Bao Kuan ask you to convey? Suyu said lightly. Black Lotus Demon, Lord chuckled. Sect leader by you is magnanimous. I admire you. One more word of nonsense, and you will die. Suyu shouted coldly. Since he was a sect leader, and a prestigious one at that, he should have the bearing of a sect leader. Sure enough, Black Lotus Demon Lord's face stiffened slightly, and he immediately stopped smiling. He said seriously, my master has received news about the Emperor Killing Sword and invites sect leader by you to come over for a talk. Oh, Suyu was expressionless, and his emotions did not fluctuate. Black Lotus Demon Lord was secretly puzzled. Wasn't everyone aware of the sect leader by Yu's desire for the Emperor Killing Sword? His obsession with this sword was far greater than esteemed Bao Kuan's. He asked tentatively, Sect leader by you, please give me an answer so that I can reply to my master. Well, tell him that I am not interested. All right, get out of here. Suyu waved his hand impatiently. Some of the elders who were displeased with him had already thrown him out. The way everyone looked at the sect leader by Yu changed slightly. In the past, whenever the sect leader by Yu heard news about the Emperor Killing Sword, he would be extremely enthusiastic and could tolerate any kind of grievance. Now he was dismissive and chased away the other party's emissary. His unyielding attitude made them very happy. Sect leader, you are wise. If there is really news, would esteemed Bao Kuan be kind enough to tell you? The one who spoke was a white-haired protector. He was Bai Li, the strongest of the 6 great protectors. He was worried that the sect leader would lose his cool and think. He did not expect the sect leader to reject him so decisively. In fact, that was what Suyu was thinking. Nowadays, the Dark Star civilization was fighting for the Emperor Killing Sword. It was chaotic, and the 10 great influences were fighting each other. Who wouldn't try to hide the news when there was news? Esteemed Bao Kuan's invitation either meant that the news was fake, or even if it was real, it was probably not out of goodwill. Therefore, Suyu rejected him without hesitation. Then, during this period of time, have you found any news about the Emperor Killing Sword? He asked in a seemingly casual manner. Protector Bai Li looked troubled. Sect leader, since it appeared in the White Dragon Mountains 3 years ago, the Emperor Killing Sword has disappeared without a trace. We still don't know where it is. Oh, White Dragon Mountains. Yes, sort out all the relevant news from the past. I want to review it again to see if I have missed anything. Yes. Protector Bai Li paused, then said, Sect leader, may I ask why only you have returned? Where are the great skeleton protector and Fu Hu protector? The other 5 protectors looked surprised as well. They had long wanted to ask why only the sect leader had returned. Also, who was the person he had brought with him? Under the black robe, only a woman could be seen. Are you questioning the sect? Suyu snorted. We wouldn't dare. Protector, Bai Li said anxiously. It's just that it has been chaotic recently. Our moon-worshipping cult is located in a remote area. Even though we are safe for now, we might break out into a fight one day. If we don't have enough manpower, we are worried that we won't be able to deal with the chaos in the future. Suyu's expression softened. He said indifferently, The Great Skeleton Protector and the other 3 are in the Diu Empire, taking over the place for us. They won't be able to return for now." The 6 protectors were overjoyed. "Sect leader, could it be you?" Without another word, Suyu tore off Princess Rukin's black robe, revealing her. A cute, pure, and frightened human face appeared before everyone's eyes. "This is Princess Rukin of the Diu Empire." They had been plotting against the Diu Empire for many years, so they were naturally familiar with the members of the royal family. Suyu nodded slightly. "Yes, Dongfangxia and the 5 princes have been annihilated. Our moon-worshipping cult only has 1 princess left. She is willing to marry me and become the sect leader's wife. She will rule the Dayu Empire in the future." Without waiting for Suyu to explain his reason for doing so, the protectors were overjoyed. "Haha, the sect leader is wise and mighty. Since ancient times it is easy to get the people's land, but difficult to win the hearts of the people. If our moon-worshipping cult were to take over the Dayu Empire directly, we would definitely encounter strong resistance. However, if the previous dynasty's princess were to continue to rule as a puppet, I believe the resistance would be much smaller." Princess Rukin shuddered. Sect leader's wife? Her eyes widened, and a hint of shyness flashed across her face. When the protectors saw her expression, they were dumbfounded. Chapter 1853. Suyu turned a deaf ear to their flattery and said calmly, "Are there any other important things to deal with? I had a great battle with Dongfangxia and was injured. I need to go into seclusion as soon as possible." Hearing that the sect leader was injured, the guardian elders were all concerned. "Please take care of yourself, sect leader." He nodded slightly. "All right, you may all leave. I will rest first. Leave 2 followers to take care of Princess Rukin's daily life." Everyone left, except for the 2 beautiful, young and obedient maids. They were strong, at the peak of the overlord level. "Greetings, sect leader's wife." They stepped forward obediently and bowed. Princess Rukin blushed. "Who is the sect leader's wife?" Nothing has been set in stone yet. However, she never dreamed that one day she would follow Suyu into the Dark Star civilization and become the sect leader's wife. She did not know whether to laugh or cry when Suyu became the 6th prince. "Well, what are your names?" "Biue, bashful flower." Indeed, the 2 of them were extremely beautiful. Even among women, they were rare beauties. They were top-notch beauties, specially selected by the elders from among the followers for the sect leader to enjoy. Unfortunately, the sect leader had no time to enjoy them and left them to Suyu. "Are you familiar with the moon-worshipping sect?" "Huh?" The 2 women looked at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. Even if the sect leader did not know them, he should know that they were raised in the moon-worshipping sect. How could they not be familiar with it? "Then you are very familiar with it. Very well, let me borrow your memories." Before the 2 of them could come back to their senses, 2 dazzling soul waves shot out from under the black robe. The 2 women fainted as soon as they resisted. Suyu's soul went straight in and flipped through their memories. After a moment, he retracted his soul and pondered. The moon-worshipping sect recruited followers from all over the world in the form of a religion. It was the largest sect in terms of number of followers. For them, the black moon was a kind of faith. The higher-ups of the moon-worshipping sect absorbed the power of faith from the followers to quickly improve their cultivation. As a means of winning over followers, the moon-worshipping sect distributed a large number of resources to maintain the devout faith of the followers. In fact, Suyu was no stranger to this. The reason for the catastrophe of the 9 states all those years ago was that the glittering jewel demon god had absorbed the power of faith from the people of the 9 states in order to become a god, and finally set foot on the divine path. The heretic god had once said that the path of faith was a shortcut that many gods coveted. It allowed one to quickly become a god, and it also allowed one to rapidly increase the realm of gods. In his portable cavern world, the people of the Jinlong continent had built a giant statue in the Jinlong city. Every day, the faith released from the worship would be absorbed by the statue. Moreover, this was led by Xia Jingyu. However, Suyu had been training alone and had never cultivated any faction. Hence, he was rarely involved in the path of belief. Now that he had touched upon the faith of the moon-worshipping sect, he could not help but ponder for a while. The moon-worshipping cult had built special black moon statues in all the areas they controlled. From the main altar to the villages, there were black moon statues everywhere. Every day they would be worshipped by the believers nearby, and the faith of the believers would be absorbed by the black moon statues. Then all the faith in the statues would accumulate in the forbidden area of the moon worshipping cult's headquarters, the Black Moon Divine Pool. It would be opened once a month, and the sect master would lead the higher-ups in to absorb faith. The moon-worshipping cult was the last great faction to appear in the Dark Star civilization, but it was also the one that developed the fastest. The other factions had been accumulating power for several generations. However, the moon-worshipping cult only relied on the current sect master to build such a great foundation. There were 10 double crown emperors, more than 100 single crown emperors, and more than 1,000 peak overlords. The reason was that the strength of faith could improve one's cultivation extremely fast. The key of the Black Moon Divine Altar was in Suyu's hand, which was the key-shaped token with the word moon worshipping carved on it. Faith, interesting. Suyu couldn't help but be curious about it. The believers of the moon worshipping cult were divided into several levels. The highest level was the 10 guardian elders, who were all peerless existences of the double crown emperors. They were responsible for guarding the moon worshipping cult and deterring foreign enemies. The second level was the 100 preaching elders, who were responsible for preaching in various places and recruiting new believers. The third level was the 1,000 altar masters, who were responsible for handling the affairs of each altar. The last level was the hundreds of millions of moon-worshipping imperial guards, who were responsible for maintaining the order of the entire territory of the moon-worshipping cult. However, in addition to this, the moon-worshipping cult also had a very special existence. The Holy Maiden. Her position was comparable to that of the moon-worshipping cult master. The Holy Maiden was chosen by the believers and represented the will of hundreds of millions of believers. If the cult master did anything detrimental to the moon-worshipping cult, the Holy Maiden had the right to replace him. When Suyu heard this, he felt incredulous. The moon-worshipping cult was founded by the moon-worshipping cult master, and he was the leader of the entire force. Why would he set up the position of the Holy Maiden to tie his neck? From the memories of the 2 maidservants, the position of the Holy Maiden was indeed very high. The Holy Maiden was not in the cult all year round, but if she came back, the moon-worshipping cult master would need to discuss all sorts of matters of the cult with her, angering the Holy Maiden. And she can still remove the cult master? This is incredible. The more Suyu thought about it, the more ridiculous he found it. He had conquered a territory for himself, but he had invited an outsider to be the emperor. He did not believe that the moon-worshipping cult master would be so stupid as to be so willing. There must be a reason behind it. In the maidservant's memories, the news about the Holy Maiden surprised and frightened Suyu the most. Fortunately, the saintess was not in the sect at the moment. If she appeared, there would be a lot of trouble. The only thing worth rejoicing about was that the saintess' cultivation was not high. She was at the level of a single crown emperor. It was not a big deal to be exposed by her. They could just kill her to silence her. Apart from that, he had also investigated the various details of the moon-worshipping cult's headquarters. He casually tapped on the foreheads of the 2 maids and erased their memories before their souls were searched. The 2 women woke up and stood up shakily. Their faces were blank and then terrified. Goddaughter deserves to die, actually falling asleep in front of sect master. You're probably too tired. Don't worry. Help the cult master's wife to cultivate. Suyu left the great hall and went to the training room reserved for the sect master. Suyu heaved a long sigh of relief. With a thought, a crack appeared between his brows. 5 souls flew out from it. 4 of them were the souls of the 4 protectors of the moon-worshipping cult, and the other was the flood dragon monarch. The 5 souls struggled violently under the restraint of the soul-devouring mirror. Currently, my soul realm is that of a single crown emperor. I wonder what kind of changes will occur after I swallow 5 lumps of souls. Su Yu was secretly looking forward to it. Then he closed his eyes and absorbed the first soul. At the same time, in a secret room at the headquarters. Protector Bai Li, why didn't you tell Sect Master that there is a big problem at the border? A very important altar has been occupied by the Dustless Moon faction. This matter can only be solved by Sect Master himself. A translucent protector said. Bai Li's face was as dark as the water. He sighed. It's not that I don't want to say it, but I can't. The translucent protector was a little puzzled. What could not be told to Sect Master? The Saint Lady sent a message. She has returned from outside the border. After learning of the matter, she personally rushed over to deal with it. Hearing this, the translucent protector's eyes revealed a trace of fear. She's back? No wonder. If it was her, the problem at the border could be easily solved. You were right not to tell Sect Master. Otherwise, with Sect Master's temper, he would most likely choose to go into seclusion again until the Saint Lady leaves again. As long as the Saint Lady was around, the moon-worshipping cult master would avoid her for another day. The two rarely met. Speaking of which, our Sect Master is helpless. Anyone would feel uncomfortable being overpowered by a Saint Lady, right? Another protector sighed. However, don't you feel that Sect Master seems to have changed a little this time? How should I put it? He has become more decisive. Protector Bai Li and the translucent protector nodded lightly. There is indeed a slight change. Perhaps Sect Master has more confidence after taking control of the Diyu Empire. The protectors nodded in agreement. Time flowed like water. Half a year passed slowly. The moon-worshipping cult operated normally under the care of the protectors. As their Sect Master, he had finally digested the 4th lump of the Double Crown Emperor's soul. In the training room, a layer of soul light reverberated around Su Yu's body. His soul was so strong that it penetrated his body. This was because his soul was reaching the limit of what his body could bear. Now that he had been tempered by the dragon blood, the strength of his body had reached the level of the Double Crown Emperor. His soul had surpassed the limits of his body. This meant that his soul was extremely close to reaching the level of the Triple Crown Emperor. Swish! All of a sudden, Suyu opened his eyes. 2 waves of soul light swept out. With the training room as the center, they swept out in all directions. All the followers in the main altar felt a throbbing from the depths of their souls. All of them knelt in worship. Long live the moon-worshipping cult master. Unify the world. Suyu, who had just woken up, heard a familiar cry. The soul light on the surface of his body shook, but his soul was not shaken. The corners of his mouth twitched, and he immediately withdrew his soul gaze. For lumps of the Double Crown Emperor's soul, it's really amazing. After digesting them, my soul has directly pushed to the level of the Triple Crown Emperor. Su Yu was speechless. His divine crystal of soul had expanded by 10 times, turning into an exquisite, egg-sized crystal core. The soul power it was filled with was extraordinary. Strange things keep happening. Su Yu was secretly surprised. The last time he swallowed the soul of Huan Yu Langjun, he had directly broken through from the soul level of a peak overlord to the Single Crown Emperor. Now, after swallowing the souls of 5 Double Crown Emperor, he had jumped from the Single Crown Emperor to the Triple Crown Emperor. There were many impurities in a soul. Swallowing a soul to absorb 1/10 of it was already very good. Swallowing the souls of 5 Double Crown Emperor, the soul power absorbed was not even half of the real Double Crown Emperor's soul. At the very most, Suyu's soul power could barely reach the Double Crown Emperor level. But now that he had directly broken through to the Triple Crown Emperor level, it was really strange. After thinking about it again and again, Suyu kept this doubt in mind. With a strong soul power, he could finally start doing what he had been looking forward to for a long time. He took out the bronze plate. After swallowing the soul of Huanyu Langjun, he could barely see the cultivation technique of stage 6 appear on the bronze plate. But because his soul power was not strong enough, it was very blurry and he could not see it clearly. Now, his soul power was strong enough to reach the level of the Triple Crown Emperor. Looking at it, a clear line of words came into view. However, what shocked Suyu was that it was not a cultivation technique. Chapter 1854. Wait, didn't Yu Nyazi say that 6 levels of cultivation were recorded on the bronze plate? What about the 6th level? Why is there an irrelevant formula? Suyu was bewildered. He wanted to ask Yu Nyazi, but he was still in the divine 9-dragon cauldron, recovering his soul with the blood left behind by the ancient god Julong. His eyes flashed with great disappointment. The long-awaited 6th level was not there. In other words, the heaven's sun gazing at air technique had reached its end. This was a cultivation technique that had been cultivated since the Jinlong continent, and it was of great help to him. For a moment he felt lost. After a long silence he smiled. Forget it, it's just a fragment. Even if I get the 6th level, I can't get the 7th, 8th, and 9th levels. It's just an early end. In a relaxed mood, he had the heart to look at the formula. Upon closer inspection, Suyu found that the formula was quite special. Heavenly script. The words of the formula were not the common language of the great beginning realm, but a very ancient heavenly script. If Suyu hadn't been familiar with the heavenly script and mastered more than 30% of it, he probably wouldn't have been able to recognize the formula. He softly chanted the incantation word for word. Suddenly, a large green light was released from the bronze plate, and Suyu, who was holding the bronze plate, was instantly engulfed. Suyu hurriedly resisted, but in the face of the devouring power, he was like the humblest ant in the world, and resistance was futile. He was shocked, and he was swallowed by the bronze plate. Clang! The bronze plate fell to the ground, and Suyu disappeared. When Suyu regained consciousness, a vast expanse of ruins appeared in front of him. Destroyed buildings, broken city walls, broken and damaged soldiers, and arrows all over the ground. It was as if they had been forgotten in time and space, silent. Where is this? Suyu was bewildered. Was there another space inside the bronze plate? Why did he enter here? Yu Nyazi had never said that there was another space inside the bronze plate. He tried to walk and was shocked to find that his surroundings seemed to have solidified, and he could only take a step forward with great difficulty. What's going on? It was just one step, but it seemed to consume all his strength. Even as he was feeling bewildered, this careless step seemed to have triggered something, and a huge black eagle flew down from the highest heavens. His strength was very weak, but his body was filled with an abnormally astonishing aura. Primordial Qi. That's right, it was the origin of all things in the absolute beginning realm. Absolute beginning Qi. How is this possible? Suyu cried out in shock. Absolute beginning Qi was extremely rare in the current absolute beginning realm, and it was almost impossible to obtain it in the outside world. Only the ancient oil lamp of the sacred mortal body could burn everything in the world into a tiny amount of primordial Qi. However, the amount of primordial Qi that the giant eagle before them contained was more than even the entire constellation sea could match. Chirp! When the giant eagle discovered Suyu, it let out a sharp cry and swooped down. It tried to peck Suyu with its sharp, giant beak. Suyu could not move, and he could only watch as the giant eagle pecked at his body. Clang! Fortunately, Suyu had just been tempered by the dragon blood, so his body was extremely tough. The giant eagle swooped down rapidly, but not only did it not manage to pierce through Suyu, It felt as if it had pecked an iron plate, and its entire body crashed into him. Dong! With a dull thud, the giant eagle killed itself on the spot, falling in front of Su Yu's feet. The way it died was truly humiliating. Su Yu laughed in surprise. Although the giant eagle contained an astonishing amount of primordial qi, it did not seem to be very powerful. The reason it had dared to peck at Su Yu was probably because the primordial qi in Su Yu's body was very weak, causing it to mistakenly think that Su Yu was very weak. The result was a tragedy. After resting for a while, Su Yu squatted down with great difficulty. He was so tired that he was sweating profusely. He clenched his teeth and persevered, barely managing to catch the giant eagle. The moment he touched it, Su Yu felt a burning sensation on his chest, and an ancient oil lamp flew out on its own. The weak flame flickered incessantly, as if it was about to be extinguished. It shot out a ball of flame, instantly burning the giant eagle into nothingness, and a large amount of 9-colored gas evaporated. The flame suddenly became brighter, and even the ancient oil lamp seemed to become a little more brand new. Could it be that burning something that contains primordial qi will change the oil lamp? Su Yu's eyes were filled with thought. He saw a small tree full of orange fruits in the distance, which also contained a shred of primordial qi. With a thought, he walked step by step to the side of the small tree with great difficulty. It was only a short distance of 1,000 feet, but he felt as if he had walked for half a year. As he neared the small tree, the oil lamp flew out on its own, burning the small tree into ashes. The light of the oil lamp grew stronger, illuminating the sky with the 9-colored light of the oil lamp. An unexpected scene appeared. Under the illumination of the 9-colored light, the entire illusory ruins were filled with light and shadows, and an illusory scene appeared. In a magnificent palace, there were many soul bodies walking around one after another. They were born with only souls, but no bodies. Every soul was extraordinarily strong. Even the maidservants were divine warriors of the heavens and earth. The patrolling guards were divine warriors of the heavens and earth. The leader of the guards was a divine warrior of the heavens and earth. There were even a few faint auras of path masters among them. One of them even made Su Yu feel suffocated. That kind of power, like that of a ruler, made Su Yu feel that he could not compare to it. Su Yu's pupils shrank. Who was that? What kind of place had these ruins been in the past? Even as his heart trembled, a voice echoed out from the palace, echoing through the passage of countless years. This is the Taishu Xian Palace, and I am the Taishu Master. You can call me the Soul Law Dominator. Ah, Su Yu almost cried out in surprise. It was an illusion in front of him. This place had been destroyed for countless eras. Where did the voice come from? His heart trembled violently. However, the owner of the voice seemed to have seen through Su Yu's thoughts. I am in the long river of time of the first era. An era was trillions of years. The great beginning realm had existed for only one era. The first era? What era was that? The great beginning realm was only one era. How could there be a first era? Living creature of the present world, the last generation of the second era, I really don't know whether to feel lucky or sad for you. The voice disappeared, and the 9-colored portrait disappeared. The scattered light sprinkled on Su Yu's body, fusing into his body bit by bit. The ancient oil lamp dimmed again, unable to project enough illusions. He wanted to continue asking questions, but he could not. The Space Law Dominator? The Taishu Master? Su Yu recalled the shocking identity in his mind. At that moment, the last remnant of the light merged into his body. The pressure around me seems to be much weaker. When he came back to his senses, he immediately noticed something strange. His body moved, and he took a step forward easily. Could it be because the light merged into my body just now? Su Yu was secretly surprised. At the same time, he found that he had a vague understanding of the soul law. This feeling only appeared when he was comprehending the Tao rains raindrops. My understanding of the soul law has increased a little. Su Yu could not believe it. It was so easy to understand part of the soul law. He was excited and tried to find other objects with rich, primordial energy for the ancient oil lamp to absorb to recreate the illusion just now. However, at that moment his surroundings turned dark, and he found himself back in the outside world. He was still holding the bronze plate with both hands, and a thick layer of dust had accumulated on his body. Has this been half a year? Observing the scattered dust, he deduced that he had spent half a year in the bronze plate. A trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. He looked at the bronze plate again and tried to recite the incantation, wanting to enter again. However, the bronze plate did not respond again. At that moment, a faint voice came into his soul. Calm your heart and savor the soul law that you have comprehended. More haste makes waste, remember. Was it the Taishu master? Outside the bronze plate, he could also communicate with Suyu across the eras? Suyu was shocked. What kind of existence was the soul law master? However, what he said was not wrong. More haste makes waste. He had not yet digested the soul law that he had just comprehended. Thinking about it, Suyu's eyes gradually brightened. So, the soul law can be used in this way. He had a new understanding of the soul law. Knock, knock. At that moment, there was a knock on the door outside the secret room. Suyu raised his eyes and looked over. He was surprised to find that he could easily see the few souls in the outside world without using his soul eyes. To be precise, the souls of all the creatures in the main altar of the moon worshipping cult were clearly visible in his eyes. Outside the secret room were the souls of Bai Li and the 6 guardians. They were waiting outside eagerly, looking extremely anxious. Was there something important? Su Yu's heart thumped as he opened the stone door. Greetings, sect master. Su Yu said calmly, Is there something urgent for you to disturb my training? Guardian Bai Li looked troubled. Sect master, please have a look. He presented a jade pendant in the shape of a black moon. It was an emergency communication artifact, unique to the moon worshipping cult. He did not take it, merely scanning it with his soul. Immediately, a calm and steady voice came from it. I am trapped in the White Dragon Mountain. Come to my rescue, quickly. That tone did not sound like he was looking for help. It was clearly an order. In the entire moon worshipping cult, only the Saint Lady dared to call herself a saint. So you could not help but sneer. Save you? If the Saint Lady was dead, no one could restrain the sect master. He could not find any reason to convince himself to come to her rescue immediately. He was about to say a few perfunctory words when suddenly Su Yu's heart moved slightly. A layer of soul light faintly appeared in his ears. Suddenly, the voice that originated from the soul reached his ears. Why hasn't the sect master responded? If the Saint Lady is in trouble, the sect master will also be in big trouble. Hey, he has been in isolation for a year. Could it be that he still hasn't had enough? What is there to hesitate about? Hurry up and rescue him. None of the 6 guardians present spoke, nor did they dare to transmit their voices in front of the sect master. What Su Yu heard came from the soul, which was the true thoughts in his heart. This was the new use of the soul rule that he had tasted after comprehending the soul rule. This method was similar to how the Taishu master had easily seen through Su Yu's inner thoughts. Chapter 1855. After pondering for a moment, Su Yu said in a low voice, The Saint Lady is very powerful. There is no need to rush to rescue her. As soon as these words came out, everyone's thoughts appeared in his ears. TSK, the sect master really has a lot of resentment towards the saintess. If I were the sect leader, I would naturally hope for the saint to die in White Dragon Mountain forever. However, the saint controls the sect leader's life and death. I'm afraid I have no choice but to go. If the saintess were to crush that shackle before she died, I'm afraid the sect master would also die. Su Yu heard every single one of their thoughts. The saintess grabbed the shackles? Control the sect master's life? It was an unexpected discovery. However, how could a mere saintess who was only a peak overlord be able to control the life and death of the sect master so easily? Sect master is wise. The saintess has the supreme artifact of the moon worshipping cult, the divine wheel of the black moon. Her life will not be in danger for the time being. Sect master, you don't have to worry. Protector, Bailis said respectfully. A bunch of bootlickers. The blue veins on Su Yu's forehead were twitching nonstop. The ones who died weren't you, right? Of course. Su Yu wouldn't be the one to die. No matter how the Holy Maiden controlled the life and death of the Baiwa sect leader, she could not control Su Yu. However, if he really ignored it, he was afraid that his identity as the sect master would arouse suspicion. Even though his life was being controlled, he was still able to remain calm and composed. No matter how muddle-headed Protector Bai Li and the others were, they should be able to sense his abnormality. Furthermore, the last place the Emperor Killer Sword had appeared was in the White Dragon Mountain Range, right? According to the information obtained, the Emperor Killer Sword had completely disappeared after escaping to the White Dragon Mountain Range. No one knew if he was hiding in the White Dragon Mountain Range or if he had escaped somewhere else. He had already planned to personally head to the White Dragon Mountain Range to investigate. Now he could save the Saintess at the same time. Sect leader, it has already been a year since we opened the Black Moon Divine Pool. If we don't absorb it soon, I'm afraid it will evaporate and go to waste. Do you think we should gather the higher-ups of the sect to prepare and absorb it? The transparent Protector's eyes flashed with a hint of hidden passion. Absorbing faith every month was what the higher-ups of the church desired the most. However, the sect master had been in seclusion for an entire year, which worried them to death. Su Yu caressed the key token in his pocket, while his gaze became slightly fervent. He was also curious about how powerful the moon worshipping cult's power of faith was. Gather the higher-ups. We will open the Black Moon Divine Pool tomorrow. Su Yu waved his sleeves and immediately made a decision. Not long after Xiao Chun returned to his bedroom, Princess Rukin came over after hearing the news. Brother Su Yu, didn't you spend too much time in seclusion? Princess Rukin's pretty face relaxed slightly. For the past year, Su Yu had been in secluded training. She was afraid that she would accidentally expose herself, so she was on tenterhooks. Now that Su Yu had returned, it was as if he had found his master. Su Yu smiled as he looked at her, his brows slightly furrowed. In the past, when he probed her soul, he couldn't feel anything strange. But now that his soul had become stronger with a casual look, he discovered that her soul was indeed different from an ordinary person's. In the depths of her soul realm, there was a faintly discernible dark red line that had fused with her soul and was growing together with it. If one exists, everything exists. If one is destroyed, everything will be destroyed. Soul, symbiotic body. Su Yu was secretly surprised. Recently he had gained some insights into the soul. Only then did he know that such a special soul existed in the world. The two souls were born as one, each controlling the other's body. Based on the current situation, Princess Rukin's soul was far stronger than Linglong's. Hence, Princess Rukin was in charge most of the time. Linglong's existence is more or less a hidden danger. Su Yu was deep in thought. The next time she woke up, she would take away the Emperor-killing sword and threaten Su Yu's life. Just her existence alone was a threat to Princess Rukin. As far as he knew, the soul's symbiotic body wouldn't exist forever. Usually, when one soul became completely powerful, it would suppress the other soul forever. Although Princess Linglong's soul was weak, it was far more refined than Rukin's. It was only a matter of time before she could suppress Princess Rukin. He had promised Dongfang Xia that he would treat Princess Rukin well. Naturally, he wouldn't go back on his word. Thinking of this, He couldn't help but take out a dragon-shaped necklace. After studying it, he discovered that it was a protective treasure made by Dongfangxia himself. It had 2 magical powers, one offensive and one defensive. The offensive was Dongfangxia's full-force attack. Any powerful double-crowned emperor would undoubtedly die. If a 3-crowned emperor were to be ambushed, he would most likely die as well. The defensive was the all-out defense of a 3-crowned emperor. As long as the opponent wasn't too much stronger than him, he would be able to withstand a blow from a 3-crowned emperor. The dragon and the phoenix had consumed a great deal of Dongfangxia's power. Otherwise, during the battle with the moon-worshipping sect master, Dongfangxia wouldn't have been at such a disadvantage. He had been wrong about Dongfangxia all this time. Hence, it would be best if he could find a way to eliminate or suppress Princess Linglong's soul to relieve Rukin of her worries. But before he could find a way to remove it, the safest method was to strengthen Princess Rukin's own soul. The stronger she was, the more difficult it would be for Princess Linglong. Tomorrow I will open the Black Moon Divine Pool. Follow me. If the power of faith is beneficial to your cultivation, we can try it together. Princess Rukin had been here for a year, but she had not heard much about the power of faith. It was very mysterious. It was said that by absorbing the power of faith, one's cultivation would be 10 times faster than ordinary people. The rise of the moon-worshipping sect overnight was due to the power of faith. If she could absorb the power of faith, her cultivation could improve rapidly. The next morning, the guardian elder and the missionary elder were all waiting in the sect master's great hall. Su Yu arrived a little late with the sect master's wife. Greetings, sect master's wife. Many elders greeted them respectfully. Dispense with the formalities. The Black Moon Divine Pool has not been opened for a year. Elders, follow me. Su Yu led the crowd to the forbidden area of the main altar, a giant cave built deep underground. From the entrance of the cave to the forbidden area, there was an imperial guard every 10 steps, standing guard all year round. No one was allowed to approach. The security was very tight. In the depths of the cave was a giant spiritual pool built from an unknown black material. It was sealed off by a thick stone door. Su Yu tried to probe it with his soul, but was immediately repelled. Even with his current soul strength, he could not penetrate it. It was obvious how strong the stone door was. Even a 3-crown divine warrior might not be able to break open the stone door. There was a keyhole on the stone door, just like the key Su Yu had. Filled with anticipation, Su Yu took out the key and opened it. Suddenly, a rich, mysterious power came rushing at him. What he saw was a spiritual pool suspended in midair. The pool was overflowing with black air currents. The air currents gathered together, condensing into a liquid that resembled water. The powerful power of faith was bursting forth from the pool. In an instant, Su Yu seemed to see countless devout believers kneeling before the Black Moon statue and kowtowing. Wisps of faith were stripped from their bodies and gathered on the statue. They were then transferred through the statue to the pool. All the power of faith gathered in the territory of the moon-worshipping cult was gathered here. The higher-ups of the moon-worshipping cult behind him were ravenous and thirsty. Go, all of you, following Su Yu's order. All of them rushed in and devoured the power of faith greedily and happily. They were all fighting to be the first, afraid of falling behind. Princess Rukin was also very envious, but Su Yu did not move. She did not act rashly. Su Yu's eyes narrowed slightly, staring at everyone's every move. The usually calm guardians in the face of the power of faith were wild and excited. Is this really faith? Su Yu was suspicious. True faith should make people more devout, but the guardians before him had turned into hungry beasts. His eyes flashed as he observed the bodies of the people. He found that after the power of faith entered their bodies, it immediately turned into the divine energy they needed, rapidly improving their cultivation. The more they absorbed, the more they improved. It seemed like there was no problem. But Su Yu had always believed in the saying, "The way of heaven is balanced." The way of heaven was to take away the surplus and make up for the deficiency. Such a domineering way of improving one's cultivation must have hidden dangers. Sure enough, Su Yu sensed something out of the blue. When he took a closer look, he was surprised to find that although the power of faith integrated into their bodies had turned into divine energy, a very small part of it had turned into something else and entered their souls. Guardian Bai Li absorbed the most power of faith. In his soul, there was an additional layer of transparent bugs that ordinary souls could not detect. They attached themselves to the soul and greedily devoured the soul essence. Looking at the translucent guardian, the other 4 guardians, and the hundreds of preaching elders, all of them were in the same situation. Inside their soul divine crystals, there were bugs gnawing on them. Guardian Bai Li was the most severely affected. His soul divine crystal was almost filled with bugs, and there were several layers of them. Seeing this scene, Su Yu's scalp went numb, and his heart trembled. There was really no such thing as an advantage in this world. The technique of absorbing the power of faith really had endless hidden dangers. Guardian Bai Li and the others had only been cultivating for a short period of time. Coupled with the fact that their souls grew along with their cultivation, they did not feel the loss of their soul essence. However, once their cultivation stagnated for a long time, the speed of the bugs gnawing would far exceed the growth of their souls. When that happened, there would be a huge problem. Either their minds would be damaged and they would become wild beasts, or their souls would be devoured cleanly bit by bit, turning them into walking corpses. Fortunately, Su Yu had been in seclusion for a year. In the great void cave, the colorful divine light had entered his body, and his eyes were looking at the soul at a much higher level than before. Otherwise, if he had absorbed the power of faith without knowing what was going on, there would have been endless troubles. Princess Rukin could not stand it any longer. She tugged at Su Yu's sleeves. "Shall we go too?" It would have been better if he had not known. Now that he knew, how could he push Princess Rukin into the fire pit? However, when he caught a glimpse of the dark red symbiotic soul in the depths of her soul, he had an idea. His eyes flickered, and 2 silver flames flew out, turning into a firebird. With a shrill cry, the firebird burrowed into Guardian Bai Li's soul divine crystal and devoured an invisible bug. After eating it, the firebird's intelligent eyes were filled with excitement, as if it was particularly fond of the bug. A smile flashed across the corners of Su Yu's mouth. "All right, go ahead. However, you must bring this silver firebird with you." Su Yu beckoned casually, and the firebird flew back into his palm. Princess Rukin sized it up curiously. "What is this?" "A life-saving item. Close your eyes." Princess Rukin closed her eyes strangely, allowing the silver firebird to burrow into her soul and guard her mind. Chapter 1856. Hearing that, Princess Rukin delightedly entered the center of the spiritual pool to absorb the most concentrated power of faith. As the wife of the sect master, no one dared to fight for her. As Su Yu watched, Princess Rukin absorbed a large amount of power of faith. As expected, 7 to 8 formless bugs burrowed into her mind, ready to devour her frail soul. But the silver firebird immediately flew over and devoured the bugs on the spot. Only one was spared. That was the bug that devoured the dark red soul. The silver firebird chose to ignore it. Not long after, more insects came in. For example, the first batch of bugs that dared to devour Princess Rukin's soul were immediately devoured by the silver firebird. However, the silver fire raven didn't mind eating that dark red soul. Although the bugs had no intelligence, they devoured indiscriminately. But they could not withstand the increasing number of bugs. Gradually, the dark red soul was crawling with bugs, devouring it with gusto. The dark red soul seemed to sense something and trembled. But there was nothing it could do but allow the bugs to continue devouring it. As repayment for the curse of life and death, enjoy it. I hope your soul will still be intact the next time we meet. Su Yu smiled. This discovery was unexpected. Even if he could not destroy Princess Linglong's remnant soul, he could still weaken it. She might not have the same strength the next time she came out. Of course, no one knew how many hidden killing moves the daughter of the Dragon Emperor had. Weakening her soul as much as possible was the right thing to do. Secretly ordering the silver firebird to guard Princess Rukin's mind, Su Yu left the Forbidden Land and headed for the White Dragon Mountains. The White Dragon Mountains were located at the border of the moon-worshipping cult and the Dustless Moon clan. Back then, the moon-worshipping cult had been rising and expanding rapidly, clashing with many surrounding forces. The White Dragon Mountains were one of them. This place used to belong to the Dustless Moon clan, but it was later occupied by the moon-worshipping cult, who set up the White Dragon subaltar here. Su Yu put the token he carried with him into his storage device, isolating its aura. This way, the followers of the moon-worshipping cult would not know that Su Yu was the moon-worshipping cult leader. He arrived at the main city of the White Dragon Mountains, White Dragon City. The main city had been burnt to ashes, and the heads of the moon-worshipping cult hung from the city walls. When Su Yu arrived at the foot of the city wall, he looked at the familiar head on the list and sighed inwardly. The moon-worshipping cult had set up a branch here, the White Dragon branch. Among the heads, there were the local branch master, 3 deputy branch masters, and 9 hall masters. Only a deputy branch leader and a hall leader were not among them. No one knew if he had escaped or if he had been decapitated. The cultivators that passed by all revealed expressions of fear as they carefully accepted the city entrance inspection. All of you, take off your outer garments and expose your foreheads. Anyone who is a subordinate or covers up for the moon-worshipping disciples will be killed without mercy. The city gate guards sternly berated. There was a pile of corpses at the corner of the city wall. They were all moon worshippers. Although Su Yu had no feelings for the moon-worshipping cult, he didn't want to see such a massacre. These followers might not have done anything bad, but they were killed and destroyed because of their faith. The Dustless Moon sect's methods were too vicious and cruel. With that in mind, Yin and Yang Qi appeared above his head, and a moment later he disappeared. The guards at the entrance felt as if someone had disappeared. They looked over in surprise, not knowing that someone had left. When he reappeared, he was already standing at the former White Dragon Division with his hands behind his back. The division had been smashed into ruins, and a collapsed statue of the Black Moon had been trampled and destroyed. It seems that there is no one left in the division. If I want to get the latest information about the Emperor Killing Sword and the Saint Lady, I have to start from other sources. Su Yu glanced at the crowd that was hurrying past. The more chaotic a place was, the more prosperous the black market was. It wasn't difficult to find out information there. A certain inconspicuous little wine shop, however, was doing exceptionally well. There were many drinkers coming and going. Su Yu smiled faintly and stepped inside. A young waiter said, "What do you want, sir?" "I want to buy some information." The waiter looked at Su Yu strangely. "Sir, this is a restaurant. How can we sell information?" Su Yu smiled faintly. "Oh, is that so? A divine warrior of heaven and earth working as a waiter. This is the first time I've seen such a small restaurant." Suddenly, the waiter's face changed dramatically and he was in awe. He quickly bowed his head and said, "So it is you, sir. Please go to the back hall to talk." Moving to the back hall, he saw people coming in and out of an inconspicuous firewood room. It seemed like a lively little restaurant, but in fact, all the customers came in and out of this firewood room. He was no stranger to the scene. Stepping inside, an extraordinarily bustling market came into view. "Sir, welcome to the White Dragon Mountain Range branch of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce." Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce? Su Yu's heart skipped a beat. The Dark Star civilization had its own branch too. The influence of this Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce was terrifying. He just didn't know if the news of him killing the phantom of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce in the Diyu civilization had reached here. "What do you want, sir?" It was the same waiter from before, enthusiastically leading the way. "Information. First-hand information. Money is not a problem," Suyu said calmly. The waiter's face was full of enthusiasm. Such a generous senior was most welcomed by the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce. Under the waiter's guidance, they arrived at the local intelligence agency. Unlike the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce of the Dayu Empire, the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce of the Dark Star civilization was open to the public. However, due to the recent chaos of war, they had switched from being open to being secretive for safety reasons. Therefore, the reliability of the intelligence agency here was far greater than the black market of the Dayu Empire. "Old Lee, I've brought you a distinguished guest." The waiter made way for the crowd in the queue and cut the queue. Many people in the queue were full of complaints, but when they saw the waiter's face, they all fell silent, not daring to resist in the slightest. In the inner hall, a hale and hearty old man came out to welcome them. He looked Suyu up and down and said, "My friend, please come in." The waiter sent Suyu in and left, leaving the two to talk. "May I ask what you want to ask?" The intelligence agency's information is divided into 3 grades. Third-grade information is ordinary, which can be obtained by asking around carefully. Second-grade information is confidential, which is difficult to obtain without special channels. First-grade information is top secret, and only our intelligence agency knows about it. Without a word, Suyu fished out a bag of divine stones and threw it on the table. Old Lee had seen many rich and imposing people, so a mere 100 low-grade divine stones was nothing to him. However, when he glanced at it, he realized that it wasn't a low-grade divine stone, but a top-grade divine stone. In other words, it was 1,000,000 divine stones. Old Lee's expression changed drastically. He was moved, and the respect on his face deepened. Anyone who could take out 1,000,000 divine stones in one go was definitely a big shot. "You don't have to care about the information I ask. You just have to answer 2 of my questions." Old Lee was no longer disrespectful. He said, "Senior, please speak." "First, where is the Emperor Killing Sword?" Old Lee smiled bitterly as expected. "I'm not surprised by your questions. However, if it were someone else asking, I would naturally answer perfunctorily. But since it's you, I have a piece of information that might be related to the Emperor Killing Sword. Speak." Suyu's heart moved. Old Lee tapped his finger on the table. "Do you know why the Dustless Moon faction suddenly attacked the White Dragon Mountains a year ago? You should know that this place is lacking in resources. It was taken by the moon-worshipping cult for hundreds of years, but the Dustless Moon faction never asked for it. Why did they suddenly take it back? Don't keep me guessing, just say it." Suyu raised his brows and said unhappily. Terrifying soul fluctuations were released, shaking Old Lee. He hurriedly said, "It's like this. A year ago, the secret agents of the Dustless Moon sect found a natural secret realm near where the Emperor Killer Sword had disappeared. It's a space of its own, and it's very likely that it's where the Emperor Killer Sword is hiding. For this reason, the Dustless Moon faction did not hesitate to start a war to take back this place. Their goal was to deceive people. According to what I know, a large number of the Dustless Moon faction's experts have already headed for that secret place. There was such a thing. If he had not deliberately asked around, he would not have known that the Dustless Moon faction had a hidden reason for attacking the White Dragon Mountains. If that was the case, the 1,000,000 divine stones had not been spent in vain. "The second question," Suyu said calmly. "I want to know the whereabouts of a person." Old Lee's expression softened. "Haha, finding people is the strength of our intelligence department. As long as it is not a nameless person, we can know their whereabouts within 3 days. Where is the Saint Lady of the Moon worshipping cult?" Old Lee was surprised, and he stared at Suyu in surprise. He then said slowly, If it was her, then there has been no news of her for the past 3 days. This is because the last time she appeared was a year ago, when she participated in the war against the Dustless Moon faction's invasion. Whereabouts unknown. The only thing I can tell you is that the Saint Lady is not dead, but no one knows her exact whereabouts. Suyu hoped that she was dead. A trace of disappointment flashed across his eyes, but it did not matter. If he found her, he could just kill her. He did not want such a person to exist in the moon-worshipping cult. I am ashamed that I only answered half of the question, 1,000,000 divine stones, and I can only accept half of it. Suyu waved his hand. Forget it. You can answer my other question. Please go ahead. How many people are still alive in the White Dragon Mountains division of the moon-worshipping cult? Old Li was even more surprised by Suyu's identity, but he did not dare to reveal it. He said, "If it is them, it will be easy. Although the Dustless Moon faction has failed to capture them, I have found out that 8 of them are still alive. They are hiding their identities here." He took out a map and made a mark on it. At the same time, he marked the secret place that the Dustless Moon faction had discovered. "All right, 1,000,000 divine stones are yours." Suyu put away the map, looked at the inner hall thoughtfully, and left expressionlessly. When he was asking the question just now, he was secretly listening to the old man's thoughts. He was not lying. The Dustless Moon faction had indeed found some clues in the White Dragon Mountains. A long time after he left, a beautiful woman in a dark green dress walked out of the inner hall. She blinked her beautiful eyes. Why did Old Li tell the truth? The more people who know about that secret place, the more competitors we will have. Elder Li stared in the direction where Suyu had disappeared, and his eyes were filled with fear. That friend's abilities are unfathomable. Although I do not have any clear evidence, I can feel that he knows what I am thinking. I am afraid that if I were to lie, he would find out immediately. So powerful. Old Li, you are the president of our division. Why would you be afraid of someone who hides his head and shows his tail? Old Li smiled faintly. He hides his head and shows his tail, not to hide himself, but to avoid scaring you and me. Huh. What kind of identity could scare you and me? Old Li said deeply, "What if the moon-worshipping cult leader comes personally?" Hiss. Chapter 1857. Are you sure? The beautiful woman in the green dress looked solemn. Old Li nodded gently. It must be him. Only such a person can make me fear him from the bottom of my soul. The beautiful woman in the green dress frowned deeply. She knew that Old Li was a rare soul path strong man with the cultivation of a double-crown emperor. Since he was 80% sure, that person was most likely the Bai West sect leader himself. A trace of worry appeared on her face. If the Bai West sect leader comes in person, it will have a greater impact on us obtaining the Emperor Killer Sword. Old Li sighed. I didn't expect the Bai West sect leader to come in person. He must have come because of the disappearance of the Saint Lady. I have to tell him the truth. After a pause, Old Li's eyes flickered slightly. However, you don't have to worry too much. That secret realm is just a space cave that is suspected to be the Emperor Killer Sword. Hundreds of millions of years ago, the White Dragon Mountain Range has always been the most vulnerable place to the attacks of foreign civilizations. There have been many protracted wars, and the space is extremely unstable. There was once a large area of overlapping and compressed space secret realms, which have been discovered many times in history. It is still unknown whether the secret realm in front of us was left from the ancient times or opened up by the Emperor Killer Sword. Hearing this, the beautiful woman in the green dress looked slightly relieved. She nodded slowly. That's true. Anyway, the Dustless Moon clan is here. The competition is fierce enough. So what if there is another Bai West sect leader? Who knows, we might even be able to benefit from the fight between the Sandpiper and the Clam. After thinking this through, the beautiful woman in the green dress was in a much better mood. This matter should not be delayed. The longer we wait, the greater the possibility of the secret realm being known by more people. Let's set off as soon as possible." Old Lee nodded and quietly left the intelligence department with the beautiful woman in the green dress. After Su Yu left the black market, he came to an abandoned cave according to the map. There were 7 or 8 old and weak women and children living in it. Of course it looked so. Su Yu casually glanced at them and found that their souls were all strong and full. The youngest was a 9-year-old boy, yet he had the soul of a deity. The seemingly old man in his 60s had the soul of a peak overlord. They hid their names and lived in the cave as ordinary residents to avoid the search of the dustless Moon clan. "Grandpa Jean, why hasn't Deputy Division Leader Yang come back yet?" Although the 9-year-old boy was young, his face had a maturity that didn't match his age. Grandpa Jean was the slightly older old man. He stroked his head and said, "Little Hai, don't worry. Vice Branch Leader Yang is very strong. He will quickly find enough healing medicine." Little C pouted. "Since the Saintess came to save us, why didn't she bring us back to a safe place?" "Because the Saintess has more important things to do. She saved us and arranged for us to stay here. She has already tried her best." Grandpa Jean said kindly. His eyes were filled with worship towards Moon worshipping cult. At this moment, a woman in the cave let out a miserable groan. There was a hideous wound on his abdomen. Not only did it not heal, the flesh around the wound was rolling to the sides. Streams of divine blood continued to flow. The woman's face was already pale. Her divine blood was depleted, and it was only a matter of time before she died. Grandpa Jean and Little C hurried over, their faces filled with deep pain. Little C wiped away her tears and choked out, "Mother!" Grandpa Jean also felt pity. He said hatefully, "That damn dustless Moon sect. They use the Enin Moon poison light to hurt people. How hateful!" Little C cried, "Why hasn't Vice Branch Leader Yang returned yet? Didn't he say that he was going to find healing medicine for Mother?" Grandpa Jean sighed deeply. He was afraid that Vice Branch Leader Yang would be in great danger. Since the dustless Moon sect used this poison to hurt people, how could they not keep an eye on healing materials? If they waited there, they would definitely be able to wait until the Moon worshipping cult members came looking for healing materials. Vice Branch Leader Yang had discussed this with him before he left. If he left this time, it was very likely that he would stay there forever. But the woman wasn't the only one injured. There were 4 other people with similar injuries that urgently needed treatment. Thus, even though he knew that it was his eyes, Vice Branch Leader Yang still chose to go. Amidst the sighs, only the miserable groans of the patients remained in the cave. At this time, a calm voice suddenly came from the cave entrance. "How about letting me take a look at your injuries?" Grandpa Jean and Little C suddenly turned around. They were surprised to see a mysterious person in a black robe standing at the entrance. Their expressions changed drastically. Now all the members of the Moon worshipping cults, White Dragon Mountain Range Division, had been killed, and only the 8 of them had escaped. The newcomer was definitely not from the Moon worshipping cult. "Little C, step back," Grandpa Jean said solemnly. Grandpa Jean said solemnly. His robes fluttered, and the aura of a golden overlord was released. Su Yu smiled faintly and took a step forward with his hands clasped behind his back. With just one step, Grandpa Jin's body trembled. He staggered backward, his eyes grave. A peak overlord. A look of despair appeared in his old eyes. Unless the Vice Branch leader came back, a peak overlord could crush them all with a little finger. They were doomed. Su Yu walked in without saying a word. Grandpa Jean yelled, "I'll fight you to the death." The divine energy in his body was surging, a sign that he was about to self-destruct. Su Yu looked over and sighed softly. "Your loyalty is commendable." He patted Grandpa Jin's shoulder casually. All of a sudden, The divine energy in his body was strangely suppressed. His whole body was suppressed by a mighty force, unable to move. It was as if his whole body had been petrified. The child stared at Su Yu with hatred. He was strong and unyielding. "Don't touch my mother." The little boy stretched out his tender arms in front of him. Su Yu touched the space between his eyebrows gently. "Be careful." The little boy couldn't move at all. Only a pair of black eyes kept turning, revealing a pleading expression. Su Yu walked past him and came to the woman lying on the ground. He glanced at her injuries and said, calmly, "Bear with it." A ball of real dragon divine fire flew out of his fingertip and entered the wound like a tiny fire snake. "Ah!" In her coma, the woman let out a shrill scream. Her whole body could not stop trembling because of the pain. Su Yu kept the divine fire and walked to the next injured person. The screams in the cave lasted for a long time. After half an incense stick of time, the cave became quiet again. Su Yu walked out with his hands clasped behind his back. With a flick of his fingers, Grandpa Jean and Xiao Hai regained their mobility. The two of them checked the injured people in panic. However, they were shocked to find that the injuries on the 5 injured people had all disappeared. Not even a scar was left. They had completely recovered as if they had never been injured. What was even more amazing was that one of the injured people was the most seriously injured. His life force had been completely devoured by the Een Moon poison light. Even if they found something to heal him, he could not be saved. However, his face was rosy and his breathing was smooth. He was just unconscious. Grandpa Jean and Xiao Hai were stunned by this unbelievable scene. After a long while, they came back to their senses. Grandpa Jean hesitated for a moment before bowing. "Senior, may I ask who you are?" Su Yu was terrifyingly powerful. He could kill them in the blink of an eye. However, he had saved all of them, which meant he was not an enemy. "Who I am is not important. What's important is that you answer a question of mine. Su, you could not find out the whereabouts of the Saint Lady from the intelligence department. He could only find out from the survivors of the branch." Grandpa Jean said respectfully, "Senior, you saved our lives. Please tell us." "Okay, where is the Saint Lady?" Su Yu asked calmly. Grandpa Jin's pupils shrank slightly, and he became vigilant. "We don't know where the Saint Lady is either." He thought to himself, before she left, the Saint Lady told us that she found out that the Dustless Moon faction was plotting something else. She never came back. Why did this person ask about the Saint Lady? He had no idea that Su Yu had read his mind. Plotting something else. Did the Saint Lady also find out about the secret realm, so she went there? If that was the case, she was most likely still alive. "Oh, you can continue to wait. Someone will come to rescue you later," Su Yu said calmly, then turned to leave. He would inform the nearby branches to rescue the survivors. Grandpa Jin's eyes flashed. "Senior, why are you looking for the Saint Lady?" "Of course, it was to find her and kill her." "That is none of your business," Su Yu said indifferently, then walked out of the cave with his hands clasped behind his back. Just as he was about to leave, a fierce gust of wind from a palm suddenly slammed toward the top of his head. A sneak attack? In fact, he had already sensed a powerful soul hiding at the entrance of the cave. Without any hesitation, he flicked his arm lightly and deflected the incoming palm attack. Bang! A black-robed figure hit the stone wall and rolled on the spot, coughing up a mouthful of blood. Grandpa Jean and Xiao Hai heard the commotion and immediately walked over. When they saw who it was, they exclaimed in surprise, "Deputy Division Leader Yang!" They hurriedly helped him up. He was Deputy Division Leader Yang, who had found the healing medicine. "Old Jean, who is he? Are you all right?" When he had returned, he had discovered a mysterious black-robed figure entering the cave and attacking Old Jean and Xiao Hai. He had kept his cool and hidden at the entrance of the cave, preparing to launch a sneak attack. He had not expected the other party to be so powerful, and he had not expected Old Jean and Xiao Hai to be fine. "Deputy Division Leader Yang, don't misunderstand. He has no ill intentions. He saved everyone, Grandpa Jean hurriedly explained, afraid that Deputy Division Leader Yang would attack again. Deputy Division Leader Yang was stunned. He looked around the cave and found that everyone was alive and their injuries had all recovered. He could not help but smile bitterly. He shook off the dust on his body and cupped his fists toward Suyu. "Thank you for saving our lives, brother." Unexpectedly, Suyu looked at him without blinking. When Suyu had slapped him to the ground, the robe on his body had been torn to shreds, revealing his true appearance hidden beneath the black robe. Deputy Division Leader Yang was not surprised at all. He smiled. "As you can see, I am not from the Dark Moon clan, but a human. A human from a third-rate clan." Deputy Division Leader Yang was not the least bit afraid of his identity as a human. There was a hint of helplessness in his words. The status of humans in the Great Beginning Realm was too low, and he was used to being looked at differently. Suyu stared at him and asked, "May I ask where you are from?" Deputy Division Leader Yang looked at Suyu strangely and said, "I am from a very distant place." "Is it another civilization?" Suyu asked tentatively. Deputy Division Leader Yang's eyes flashed as he said, "You could say so. Anyway, it is extremely far away, and the inter-civilization formation cannot transport us there." Chapter 1858. Yang Tai. He couldn't believe his eyes. How could they meet on such an occasion? He was Yang Tai, the son of the all-access merchant god of the Great Eastern Alliance. Later, the Dakini reformed and killed innocent people. Yang Tai and Shen Yuanxin were forced to leave the Great Beginning Realm through an entrance of the Tao Tai's cage. They came to the Great Beginning Realm several years earlier than Suyu. He had thought that they would never meet again in this lifetime, given how vast the Great Beginning Realm was. Who would have thought that they would meet here? "Hey, brother, do you know me?" Deputy Leader Yang asked curiously when he noticed Suyu was staring at him from under the black robe. Suyu shook his head and said, "No, I don't know you." Now was not the time to recognize him. Once his identity was exposed, he would be hunted down by the moon-worshipping cult. When the situation stabilized, he would recognize him. "However, you look like a friend of mine," Suyu said half-truthfully. Yang Tai said with a self-deprecating smile, "If I had a friend like you, I wouldn't be in such a difficult situation." After a pause, he cupped his fists again and said, "Brother, please come inside and talk to us. We owe you a great favor for your help." Suyu waved his hand and said, "It's nothing." However, he also gave up the idea of leaving immediately. Instead, he went inside and stayed. If it was an ordinary member of the division, he could just send someone to rescue him. However, since it was Yang Tai, he had nothing to say. The four of them arranged a simple banquet in the cave and drank with each other. Yang Tai expressed his gratitude to Suyu again and again. "Alas, without your help, even if we didn't die, only the three of us would be left. We would be too ashamed to meet the preaching elder in charge of this area," Yang Tai said shamefully. Xiao Hai's condition gradually improved, and he became more lively. There are also the guardian elder and the sect leader. Yang Tai rolled his eyes at him. "With my identity, I can't even meet the guardian elder, let alone the sect leader." "Of course, our sect leader is a heavenly figure. He can decide the life and death of billions of people with a single thought. He can kill the divine warrior of the heaven and earth with a single look. He is so powerful," Xiao Hai said with admiration. At the mention of the Reverence Moon, sect master, Yang Tai's face was filled with reverence. He was just a deputy branch leader among the countless branches of the moon-worshipping cult. His status was so low that even meeting the guardian elders was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Meeting the cult leader was something he didn't even dare to think about. As the three of them chatted, Yang Tai glanced at the others whose condition was improving and said, "They should be able to wake up in a few hours. At that time, let's do it as soon as possible. This place might not be safe anymore." Grandpa Jean and Little Hai didn't have any objections. In the past year, they had changed positions several times. This was the 8th one. Staying in any place for more than a month would become dangerous. Yang Tai pondered deeply for a moment before he said, "Brother, I'm unable to repay you for saving my life. But after this meal, you should leave as soon as possible. Don't be mistaken for the moon-worshipping cult and be pursued by the dustless moon sect." Su Yu laughed indifferently. "My abilities are still passable. I probably don't care about the pursuit of ordinary members of the dustless moon faction." Yang Tai smiled embarrassedly. His opponent's strength really wasn't bad. His surprise attack had failed, and he'd been easily beaten to the point of being covered in dirt instead. "Brother, what is your strength? Why can't I see through it?" Yang Tai asked directly. Su Yu didn't avoid the topic. He said, "My cultivation is the same as yours. We're both peak overlords. The reason why I can't see through it is that the material of my black robe is a little special." Yang Tai laughed heartily. "It turned out your cultivation is the same as mine." He didn't think Su Yu was lying. After all, above the peak overlords were half-step emperors, or even heaven and earth divine warriors. He didn't think such a strong man would befriend him. "I see. But brother, your medical skills are really brilliant. The Een Moon poison light of the dustless moon faction is extremely poisonous. It can't be cured by divine power. Instead, it will worsen the injury. Only special medicine can cure it," Yang Tai exclaimed. Su Yu shook his head and said, "It's just a small divine technique. It's not a big deal." Upon hearing this, old Jean said in surprise, "By the way, Deputy Leader Yang, why did you come back so early? Didn't you get the medicine?" According to old Jin's estimation, Yang Tai would probably go through a fierce battle and wouldn't come back until tomorrow. He didn't expect that he would come back now. Yang Tai raised his eyebrows and shook his head. "On the contrary, I got the medicine and it was very easy." Old Jin's face changed. He was experienced and knowledgeable, so he said seriously, "This is bad. I'm afraid this is also a trap. The Dustless Moon faction tried so hard to catch us. How could they not have prepared such an important medicine?" Yang Tai shook his head and said, "No, I checked the medicine, and there's no trace of tampering on it." Old Jean frowned, still feeling uneasy. "Then did anyone follow you?" Yang Tai was very confident about this. "Did you forget that I have an earth spiritual body, and I'm good at escaping through the earth? Who could catch up with me?" After thinking for a while, old Jin's knitted eyebrows relaxed a little. Indeed, Deputy Leader Yang's escaping technique was very powerful. On the day when the division was besieged, the division leader and the other 3 deputy leaders were killed. Only Deputy Leader Yang escaped from the heavy siege, which showed that his escaping technique was really excellent. "Maybe I'm overthinking," old Jean said, relieved. Su Yu's eyes flashed slightly, and he said softly, "I'm afraid you're not overthinking. Someone did follow Deputy Leader Yang." Yang Tai raised his eyebrows. "Why do you say that?" Su Yu sat on the stone bench, motionless. He said, "I was wondering just now. There were a few strong souls wandering around here. I thought they were just passers-by. Now, after hearing what you said, I'm afraid they must have followed us here. If he was from the Dustless Moon faction, he wouldn't have attacked Yang Tai. Instead, he would have followed him secretly and killed him in one fell swoop. That was much more valuable than killing Yang Tai alone." "What?" Yang Tai was shocked. "Impossible. How could ordinary people follow me?" Su Yu said calmly, "Compared to you, they are not ordinary people. Among those souls, there is a very powerful one at the level of the divine warrior of heaven and earth." Suddenly, the cave fell into a dead silence. Divine warrior of heaven and earth. Yang Tai gasped, his mind blank. He came from the Eastern Divine region, so he knew how powerful the divine warriors of heaven and earth were. In the moon-worshipping sect, he had witnessed the terror of the divine warrior of heaven and earth with a casual strike of the divine warrior of heaven and earth. In front of that power of heaven and earth, the peak overlords were as small as ants. In the dustless moon faction, the divine warriors of heaven and earth were very rare. They were like the divine warriors of heaven and earth. He would not show himself easily, just like a mysterious dragon whose tail was nowhere to be seen. He never dreamed that the dustless moon faction would send a divine warrior of heaven and earth to kill a few of them. Brother, how dare you come here? You know, the divine warriors of heaven and earth are very busy, so they don't bother to attack us personally. Yang Tai swallowed hard, suppressed his fear, and asked Suyu. Suyu took a sip of wine and said leisurely, he is here. What? Yang Tai, Lao Jin, and Xiao Hai all stood up. After waiting for a while, there was no movement. They couldn't help but look at Suyu in surprise. Yang Tai said with a smile, Brother, don't tell me you are making fun of us. Before he could finish his words, the top of the cave trembled violently. An extremely powerful force penetrated through and created a hole in the cave with a diameter of 100 feet. A middle-aged man in a white moon robe was walking leisurely with his hands clasped behind his back. His eyes were full of indifference. He glanced at the situation in the cave casually as if he was looking at ants. 9 people, well, 1 more than the information we got, considered a gift. Yang Tai, Lao Jin, and Xiao Hai felt like they had been electrocuted. Their bodies became stiff and they couldn't move at all. They couldn't even move a finger, let alone resist. This was the power of a divine warrior of heaven and earth. 1 look and 1 thought from him could determine their life and death. The middle-aged man in the robe said indifferently, Break 1 of your arms and 1 of your legs, and I will spare your lives. What? Yang Tai and the others were shocked. In the past, they killed the moon-worshipping followers on the spot without hesitation. Why did he spare their lives now? They didn't want to die if they could. Yang Tai and Lao Jin looked at each other and hesitated. The divine warrior of heaven and earth in front of them could kill them easily. Since he asked them to break their arms and legs, he must spare their lives. I don't have time to waste on ants like you. Forget it. I will send you to your death. The middle-aged man in the moon robe was ready to attack. Yang Tai and Lao Jin's faces changed dramatically. Without any hesitation, they cut off 1 of their legs first. Compared to death, they could still be saved. Both of them were decisive people. Since they had made up their minds, they would not hesitate. They gathered their divine power and cut off their left legs. However, at this moment, Suyu, who was sitting still, gently tapped the stone table with his fingertips. The wine that had spilled on the table just now bounced up and flew towards the arms of the 2 people. Pow! The wine droplets bounced off their palms accurately. Yang Tai turned pale with fright from the pain and said, Brother, have you gone mad? The divine warrior of heaven and earth in front of them was full of killing intent. Only by obeying him could they avoid death. So you dared to stop them. Wasn't he provoking the divine warrior of heaven and earth? Sure enough, the other party frowned slightly and his patience reached its limit. Humph, you are just a group of ants. Why do I need you? Go to hell. Yang Tai was shocked and said hurriedly, Divine warrior, please show mercy. We will cut off our arms and legs right now. No need. My patience is exhausted. The body of the middle-aged man in the moon robe erupted with endless power and swept over. Instantly, everyone was shrouded in the shadow of death. Yang Tai's face was full of despair and a bitter smile. He could have survived, but because of Suyu's attack, his last hope was extinguished. A flash of resentment flashed in his heart, but it faded away immediately. The other party was just being kind. He had nothing to complain about. Shouldn't the dustless Moon clan be the one to complain about? With a bitter smile, the power of desolation descended. They closed their eyes and welcomed the pain that was coming. However, the pain that they had imagined did not appear. Yang Tai opened his eyes to take a look, and he stood dumbfounded on the spot. Chapter 1859. Several faintly discernible threads could be vaguely seen on his palm, weaving into a net-like shape that sliced and pulverized the desolate force that was attacking him. Only then was he able to block the terrifying power of desolation. Yang Tai and old Jean were stunned, and so was the middle-aged man in the moon robe. He did not expect that someone among the small fries of the moon worshipping cult could block his attack. After a while, the middle-aged man in the moon robe looked surprised and commented lightly, "Not bad. You have a treasure and can block a blow from the divine warrior of heaven and earth. The moon-worshipping cult is not full of good-for-nothings." With his hands behind his back, he looked at Su Yu with slight interest and said, "The rest of you will die. Break one of your arms and one of your legs. Then come with me." After a pause, he added casually, "I can only tolerate you for 3 breaths. After 3 breaths, I will do it myself." Yang Tai and the others were still as pale as paper. Their hearts were full of despair. The 8 of them were doomed. Only then could Su Yu survive. But Su Yu said leisurely, "Can you give me some face and let the 8 of them go? Let's each take a step back. It will benefit everyone. What do you think?" Hearing Su Yu pleading for them, Yang Tai felt grateful and amused. Yang Tai was grateful and amused at the same time. This brother of his had good intentions, but he was too immature. His life was in the hands of the divine warrior of heaven and earth. How could he plead for mercy? Sure enough, the middle-aged man in the moon robe said calmly, "1 breath." Su Yu sat on the stone bench in silence, waiting for the other party's reply. 2 breaths. Only the passing time answered him. Yang Tai bowed respectfully and said quickly, "Brother, don't worry about us anymore. You have done so much for us, and we are very grateful." "We can't get you into trouble," he tried to persuade him quickly. The middle-aged man in the moon robe said indifferently without any hesitation, 3 breaths?" His eyes were slightly cold. "I have to do it myself." He took a big step forward, and a huge pressure unique to the divine warriors shrouded them. Plop! Yang Tai, old Jean, and Xiao Hai suddenly felt as if thousands of mountains were pressing down on them. Their knees went soft, and they fell to the ground, unable to get up. However, only Su Yu sat on the stone bench motionlessly, as if he was not affected at all. "Oh, you do have some skills, but in front of the martial emperor, any resistance is pathetic and ignorant." The moon-robed middle-aged man walked up to Su Yu with his hands clasped behind his back. His palm was filled with the power of desolation, and he patted Su Yu's shoulder. A casual slap was enough to kill a half-step martial monarch. However, under his control, this palm strike would only cut off his entire arm. However, right at that moment, Su Yu, who had not moved an inch, raised his eyes. "Why are there always so many people who don't know when to stop? I wanted to spare your life, but you insisted on leaving your head behind." Without waiting for the moon-robed middle-aged man to understand the deeper meaning of his words, Su Yu gently flicked his finger. The ball of silk thread, spiraling in his palm, shot out abruptly, streaking across the moon-robed middle-aged man's arm. The moon-robed middle-aged man was shocked. So fast! By the time he reacted, the thread had already pierced through his arm. He was shocked, but upon closer inspection, there was nothing wrong with his arm. "What the hell are you doing?" The moon-robed, middle-aged man's arm pressed down again. At this moment, his arm was silently separated from his shoulder and fell to the ground. A smooth, mirror-like incision appeared at the junction of the arm and shoulder. The divine blood flowed out along the old blood vessels without anyone noticing. Only then did a tingling sensation gradually spread. The moon-robed, middle-aged man looked at his shoulder. His eyes were dull for a moment, as if he could not believe it. How hard was the body of a divine warrior of heaven and earth? An ordinary emperor-level divine weapon would not even be able to harm a single hair on his body. It was not until the tingling turned into intense agony that the moon-robed, middle-aged man roared. His body retreated frantically, staring at the silk thread in Su Yu's palm in horror. "Damn it, what is that thing?" Su Yu slowly stood up and said indifferently, "You don't understand what kind of existence you are talking to." He gently closed his eyes, and the 5 silk threads danced like flying dragons. The sound of hissing reverberated in the cave. Soon it was quiet as usual. Under the illumination of the dim candlelight, a horrifying projection appeared on the wall. A one-armed figure, with its head and remaining 3 limbs flying off at the same time. A divine warrior of a generation had perished here without knowing why. His soul was also annihilated in an instant, leaving not a single trace behind. Su Yu's face was indifferent. With a light tap of his toes, he leaped out of the gap above his head. In the dark night, a few faint sounds of hissing could be heard, and then there was no more sound. Yang Tai and old Jean were so shocked that they did not dare to move. They stared at the corpse of the divine warrior of heaven and earth in a daze, feeling as if they were in a dream. The divine warrior of heaven and earth had been annihilated in an instant. This was something that they could never imagine in their entire lives. Who was that mysterious brother? How powerful was he? Swish! While they were pondering, Su Yu appeared out of thin air and gently sat down on the stone bench. Beside him stood a man who was trembling all over. When Yang Tai saw this man, his face changed dramatically. He said in a trembling voice, "The Dustless Moon Faction's White Dragon Mountain Cave Master, Li Kai." When old Jean saw this man, his eyes shrank. Out of fear, his old body subconsciously trembled. The Dustless Moon Faction's Cave Master was equivalent to the Bai We Sect Master's branch leader. A year ago, it was Li Kai who suddenly led a large number of strong men to besiege the branch and carried out a bloody purge. In the past year, it was also Li Kai who ordered people to hunt down the remaining members of the branch. Yang Tai and the other 7 people hated and feared him. But now, Li Kai was covered in blood and trembling as he stood beside Su Yu. He looked at Su Yu with extreme fear in his eyes. His pupils shrank to the size of needles, as if he had experienced a huge shock and was on the verge of a mental breakdown. What is the purpose of maiming people and leaving them alive? Su Yu poured himself a cup of wine, not even looking at Li Kai, who was half a step away from the divine warrior behind him. But Li Kai was terrified. Without the slightest hesitation, he said in a trembling voice, reporting to Senior, "The secret realm ahead is dangerous, and we need someone to lead the way and sound out the danger." Secret realm. Was it the secret realm that the Dustless Moon Faction was excavating? It seemed that the secret realm was extremely dangerous. It was like there were hidden prohibitions or traps, and they had no choice but to capture people as cannon fodder. No wonder there were divine warriors who personally captured Yang Tai and the others, and even spared their lives. Hearing that, Su Yu's brows relaxed. It seemed that although the Dustless Moon Faction had discovered the secret realm a year ago, they had not been able to enter it. If the Emperor Killing Sword was really inside, they probably had not obtained it yet. This was a good piece of news. Where is the secret realm? Su Yu asked again. Li Kai told him everything and took out a map with the exact location marked on it. It was exactly the same as the one old man Li had given him. "The location is correct," Su Yu confirmed. With a casual lift of his hand, a silk thread instantly pierced through Li Kai's head, causing him to die painlessly on the spot. Looking at the moon-robed, middle-aged man's corpse, Su Yu's eyes were cold. He had not wanted to kill indiscriminately. After all, he had no enmity with the Dustless Moon Faction. However, the other party did not know what was good for him. "Forget it. I will personally escort you out of White Dragon City," Su Yu said calmly. He waved his hand casually, and the enormous space power pulled all 5 unconscious people in front of him. This move made Yang Tai and the others' hair stand on end. "You come here too," Su Yu said calmly. Yang Tai and Old Man Jean did not dare to object. They immediately trotted over. but stood 2 feet away from Suyu respectfully, not daring to get too close. Xiaohai, however, was fearless. He stared at the space storage device on the moon-robed, middle-aged man's right arm. That, "Senior, do you not want it?" Suyu looked at it indifferently and shook his head. He no longer cared about the storage ring of the single-crowned divine warrior. "Then, can I take it?" Xiaohai asked worriedly. Suyu's eyes flashed with a red light, and the space ring fell into his palm. He wiped the essence blood from the ring with a gentle touch of his finger, then threw it to Xiaohai. "Thank you, Senior. Thank you, Senior." Xiaohai was overjoyed. Yang Tai and Old Man Jean swallowed hard. They had seen the space ring, but they did not have the guts to ask for it. In the end, Xiaohai had taken advantage of it. Not only that, but the senior had also helped him wipe the remaining essence, blood from the ring. That was the essence blood of the divine warrior of the world, which contained unimaginable power. It would take them at least a few years to remove the essence blood from the ring. At this moment, their eyes were red with jealousy. Suyu saw this and then took out several space storage devices. They were all space rings that he had found when the Dayu Empire destroyed the missionary elder of the moon worshipping cult. There was no time to open them one by one, so he kept them. "Everyone has a share," Suyu said as he gave them 4 pills. Old Man Jean had 1, but Yang Tai had 3. Yang Tai was flattered. "Senior, you." In terms of time, Elder Jean had met the senior before him. Why did Old Man Jean have 1, but he had 3? Protecting the followers. Your courage is commendable. This is a reward for you. After saying that, he immediately activated the yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole and disappeared from the cave in an instant. When he reappeared, he appeared directly in the sphere of influence of another branch of the moon worshipping cult. He said, "That's all for you. We will meet again if fate allows it." Yang Tai said hurriedly, "May I know your name, Senior?" Suyu paused for a moment and said lightly, "My surname is Su." After saying that, he disappeared completely. Yang Tai was startled. "Su!" The first thing that came into his mind was Suyu, who came from the Jojo Cavern world in the Eastern Divine region. He was an incredible peer who created miracles everywhere. What a coincidence! "Senior, your surname is also Su?" Yang Tai murmured. He didn't connect the two at all. After all, Suyu was still trapped in the Tao Tai cage and could never get out of it. Secondly, how could Suyu achieve his current strength? Thinking of Suyu, Yang Tai was disappointed. Brother Su, the vastness of the world is beyond our imagination. Maybe you can't imagine that there is a wider, absolute beginning world outside the God realm. And what you can't imagine is that I, who was as humble as dust in front of you, also have the strength of a peak overlord. If I were in the God realm, such strength would be enough to unify the whole God realm, right? He imagined Su Yu's expression when he returned to the God realm one day. Su Yu must be surprised, shocked, and regretful. Yang Tai revealed a knowing smile as he imagined himself surpassing Suyu, who he had to look up to in the past. "Brother Su, I'm really looking forward to our next meeting. How will you face me at that time?" Chapter 1860. With a flip of his hand, he grabbed a peak-tier overlord-class flying beast from the 9 Jade Spiritual Pearl. It was the mount of the moon-robed middle-aged man, and it was extremely fast. Under his threat, the ferocious bird obediently crouched on Suyu's back and flew toward the secret realm. According to the location of the secret realm, it would take about 10 more days to reach it. With enough time, Suyu closed his eyes and started to recover his divine power while cultivating. He tried to enter the Taishu cave, but was still refused entry. He had not digested the enlightenment from last time. "The requirements are really strict," Suyu muttered to himself. However, he was also inspired by it. It was useless to comprehend the rules, but not be able to digest them. The Taishu master claimed to be the master of the soul rules. With such strict requirements, it must be a major disadvantage to comprehend but not digest it. Therefore, he was not allowed to enter the Taishu cave until he had completely digested it. As for Suyu, he had comprehended the space rules long ago, but had not completely digested it. To be precise, he had only learned the space blade. There was no other use for it. The soul rules, the space rules, and the life rules must all go hand in hand. Suyu thought to himself as he entered the state of time acceleration and began to carefully comprehend the three rules. Time passed by in a flash. A huge, ferocious bird flew through the sky. The martial artists on the ground could vaguely see a figure shrouded in 3 colors sitting on the bird. His entire body exuded a mysterious and extraordinary supreme concept. The fluctuations of the soul, space, and life were extremely strong. Chirp! 10 days later, the ferocious bird let out a long cry, waking Suyu from his deep meditation. He slowly opened his eyes, and they were filled with traces of satisfaction. Not bad. After digesting the enlightenment, my understanding of the 3 rules has indeed deepened, Suyu said to himself. After 10 days of digestion, he had comprehended some of the wonderful uses of the rules from each of the 3 rules. Although they might not be powerful, they could play an unexpected role. Hearing the bird's long cry, he knew that the bird had arrived at its destination. As far as the eye could see, this place was the tail of the White Dragon Mountains, shaped like a giant dragon's tail. On the other side of the White Dragon Mountains was the famous White Sea of the Dark Star Civilization. In contrast to the pitch-black environment of the Dark Star Civilization, the White Sea was as bright as day all year round. It emitted intense, dazzling white light, illuminating 1/10 of the Dark Star Civilization. It was said that the formation of the White Sea was a battlefield left behind by the invasion of the Dark Star Civilization. The remnant powerful aura shattered the once dense light of the Black Moon, causing this place to become as bright as day. To the members of the Dark Moon race, who cultivated by absorbing the Black Moon divine light, this place was the most barren and harshest place. The members of the Dark Moon race with the lowest cultivation did not like to live near the White Sea. Therefore, very few Dark Moon clansmen would appear in this place. However, in the past year, large numbers of people from the Dustless Moon sect had arrived. They forced batches of moon worshippers from all directions and entered the White Sea along the tail of the White Dragon Mountains. It had been like this for more than half a year without stopping. No one knew why they forced the moon worshippers into the White Sea, but none of the moon worshippers who went in ever returned. Suyu stood in the vast ocean, overlooking the Dustless Moon faction. The moon-worshipping disciples were being held captive in an endless stream. Like ants moving house, they continued to enter the White Sea. It was obvious that the place they were heading to was the so-called secret realm. Moreover, the Dustless Moon sect had mobilized a great number of people this time. With the senses of Suyu's soul, he clearly discovered that there were 6 souls of the Double Crown Emperor and 50 souls of the Single Crown Emperor. There was even a soul that he was afraid of among them, Master Baokuin, the faction master of the Dustless Moon sect. He had actually come in person. Even if this secret realm did not contain the Emperor-killing sword, it was still an extremely shocking treasure. Otherwise, the Dustless Moon sect would not have risked a war between the 2 great influences to send troops to seize this place, and Master Baokuin would not have come in person. Regardless of whether there is the Emperor-killing sword or not, this secret realm is worth exploring. Suyu's eyes narrowed slightly. A secret realm that could tempt the Triple Crown Emperor was definitely not ordinary. After pondering for a moment, Suyu descended alone. He had no intention of activating the power of the moon-worshipping sect. Now, the moon-worshipping sect only had 6 guardian elders. If anything happened to them in the secret realm, the weakness of the moon-worshipping sect would soon be exposed. The truth of the Diyu Empire would also be exposed. With a thought, he landed in front of a small hill and stared at the large number of moon-worshipping disciples who were being forced to go. With his strength, it would not be a problem for him to force his way into the secret realm. The problem was Master Baokuin. If he found out, it would be a huge problem. Now he only had the soul of a Triple Crown Emperor, and his cultivation was far from that level. Even with the help of Dongfang Xia's dragon-shaped necklace, he could only attack and defend himself. He could not confront Master Bao Kuan head-on. Therefore, he had no choice but to use other methods to sneak into the secret realm. Glancing at the crowded moon worshipping disciples who were being held captive by the two bronze overlords of the dustless moon sect, Suyu had a thought. He took off the black robe made of extremely black dust and changed into a simple, shabby robe. His robe was stained with blood. No matter how one looked at it, he looked like a wounded disciple who had been arrested. As for his face, he used the face of a human. The moon-worshipping sect accepted disciples regardless of race. It was common to see human disciples, so it was not strange at all. His whole body was surging with yin and yang energy, and the next moment he appeared in the crowd of captives. The already crowded crowd suddenly squeezed together, but no one noticed, including the two dustless moon sect disciples. Under their pressure, the crowd entered the White Sea. The warm water of the White Sea quickly surged over, enveloping the crowd. Visible to the naked eye, there were 6 giant funnel-shaped vortexes on the seabed. It was unknown where the other end of the vortexes led to, but they released a shocking suction force, engulfing the sand and seawater nearby. In front of the 6 vortexes, there were countless captives like Suyu. There were about 1 million of them. They were divided into groups of 10 people, and they entered different vortexes. Anyone who resisted would be killed without mercy in front of everyone. Suyu was in the crowd, silent. As group after group was thrown into different vortexes, the crowd he was in gradually moved to the front. A strong martial artist from the dustless moon sect, who was half a step into the martial emperor realm, was holding a long, burning whip. Listen up, all of you. You are moon-worshipping disciples, and you should have died. But Master Bao Kuan is merciful and has decided to give you a chance. Everyone, divide into groups of 10 and choose a vortex to enter. If you make it to the end alive, you will be rewarded with a noble status in the dustless moon sect and endless resources. Do you understand? Of course they did not understand. They had been caught and thrown into the vortexes for no reason, and who knew what was inside? Understood. But who dared to say they did not understand? If you understand, then hold on to the communication jade. He waved his hand, and the dozens of dustless moon sect disciples behind him handed out the communication jade, ensuring that everyone got one. Under his command, everyone lined up, 10 people to a group. Suyu was in the inconspicuous group number 6, and he was about to enter the 6th vortex. Our luck is not bad. The group that is about to succeed is the 6th. Beside Suyu, a dark-skinned, middle-aged man grinned, secretly rejoicing. Suyu cast a surprised look at him. Were there any differences in the situation of the 6 vortexes? Feeling Suyu's gaze, the middle-aged man lowered his voice and said, "Kid, our luck is not bad. Follow me, and I will ensure your safety." Suyu laughed lightly. "Big brother, are you very clear about the situation inside the vortexes?" Hee. The dark-skinned man licked his lips. "To tell you the truth, I was caught by a dustless moon sect cave master of half-martial artist. Along the way, I eavesdropped on him talking to other disciples about the situation of the secret realm." Suyu glanced at his ears and found that they were slender and long, showing signs of having been trained. It seemed that he had special hearing, and that was why he could eavesdrop on the conversations of half-martial artists. At this moment, the dark-skinned man seemed to be showing off proudly, but he did not know that his inner thoughts were clearly heard by Suyu's ears. "The vortexes are very dangerous. I have to win over this foolish human kid, and let him be at the bottom of the line when the danger comes." On the surface, the dark-skinned man wore a hearty expression. He patted Suyu's shoulder and said mysteriously, "Let me tell you, all 6 vortexes lead to the secret realm, but each vortex has very powerful seals and traps. At first, the people of the Dustless Moon sect went there personally, but in the end, 2 great deacons of the double-crown divine warriors died, and dozens of hall masters of the single-crown divine warriors died. That's why they are capturing people and using human lives to fill the path. Among them, the 6th vortex is the vortex where the 2 great deacons died. Before they died, they opened up a long path, so this vortex is the fastest. Look, there are still so many people in front of us. Maybe by the time we enter, we will have reached the end by stepping on the corpses of our predecessors. Hearing this, Su Yu's eyes flickered with a cold light, using human lives to fill the path. What a virtuous Lord Baokuin! He finally understood why Lord Baokuin would invite the moon-worshipping sect master to search for the emperor-killing sword. It was probably because the entrance to the secret realm was too dangerous. Therefore, he wanted to invite the moon-worshipping sect master to explore it together to reduce the sacrifices of the Dustless Moon sect. Unfortunately, Su Yu had unexpectedly refused. Lord Baokuin had no choice but to use the lives of ordinary disciples to fill the path. This man's cruelty was evident. Hurry up! Follow me! The half-king realm master of the Dustless Moon sect urged them with a fiery whip in his hand. It was their turn to enter the 6th vortex. Su Yu followed him quietly, ready to step into the vortex with the other members of the group. However, at this moment, a gentle order floated over. Lord Baokuin needs some helpers. Get some people over here. This person was no stranger to Su Yu. It was the messenger that Lord Baokuin had sent to the moon-worshipping sect. He was Lord Baokuin's 3rd disciple, the Black Lotus demonic lord. The cave master humbly agreed, then turned and swept his long whip, stopping Su Yu's group, who were about to enter the vortex. Your group, as well as the 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st groups, follow the Black Lotus demonic lord to meet the faction master. The cave master shouted. Su Yu's heart sank. His disguise might not be able to hold up in front of Lord Baokuin,